Good morning. Well, let's see who we have on. Change this. Pauline Buckmeyer, morning. Arlene Lewis, morning to you. Morning, Roxanne. Happy Easter to you as well. Thank you for my brooms. Neil Francois, always present. Morning, sir. Wazid, morning. Alison Rogers, morning. Leon Joseph, morning, my friend. Morning, Rookman. See here. Helen Faria Trotman, morning to you. Denise Bramble, morning. Denise. I don't know who. Boy. Hold 1 second, folks. Right. Angela Cutty, morning. Rude, Caroline Crossley, morning to you. Shelton Lewis, morning. Oriagani, morning to you. Karen Spooner, Kenneth Gabriel. The Slimy Show, morning. Althea, Mikel. Susan Cadogan, morning. Angela Barrington, Dexter Thwaites, morning to all of you. On Facebook, Sarah Richards, morning. Morning, Diane Charles, Pammy Gray, Gemma White, Isaac, morning to you. As I see Gemma, I have to remind me I have to reach out to Funky Gemma, who I understand would have suffered a serious stroke recently. Some of you may know Gemma from calling in on 91.9 and also on I-95.5. So understand, yeah, it was serious. So she's bedridden, unable to speak. So I have to reach out to her. She's one of my constituents. So prayers and blessings to her. Elizabeth Allen, Mava James, Jennifer Dorset, Alison Boyce, morning. Vanessa Allen, morning, folks. So my campaign team finally allowed me a day off. Well, somewhat of a day off. Because I decided I would use the afternoon to visit a couple of my older constituents who were not able to meet with me when we passed in their area, and so they have reached out. So I intend to pay them a house visit later this afternoon. Adriana Alexis, Claire Carrington, Alison Samuel, morning Alison, Claire Irish, Omega Charles, Aries Born, morning to all of you guys. Yeah, so it's been a while since I was on. But time did not permit. Every day that I said I would come on, and then if it's not a radio interview or having some event to attend, or my campaign team wanted to meet or something, so it prevented me from being able to do the live, which I had intended to do Thursday morning, Friday at 11, Saturday morning. Yeah. Where is this thing here? Let me just get this right. So where is it? Just give me 1 second here, folks. Right, where did I see that key? Just now, let me just get something here. So let me also say belated birthday greetings to Miss Donna Walcott, who I had the pleasure of meeting a couple nights ago. Yeah, so we're campaigning even into the late of night for those who would entertain us. And Miss Walcott certainly was one of those persons who was happy to meet with us. So let me get this. Who else is there? Dandy Sandiford, Christopher Coffey, Beverly Ross, Ashlyn Robertson, morning to you guys. Joyce Lynn Raghunath Singh, John Edwards, Joycelyn Small White, morning to all of you. Yeah, so many things have happened over the last few days since we last spoke. I see, well, the Kelvin Ghani poll. Where's Kevin? What your name is? Hamid Ghani, sorry. What am I saying? Hamid Ghani poll came out today. Interestingly enough, this election cycle has not had many polls, because in years gone by, we would have seen frequent NACTA polls. We would have seen the polls from solutions by simulation from Nigel Henry. We have not seen those. I don't even know if Mr. Henry is still into the polling business. But so we've not really had the benefit of too many polls, especially with 1 week to go before the election. So the only poll we've seen so far has been this poll from Hamid Ghani, whose reliability as a pollster, judging from his 2015 predictions, really and truly is not even worth fit for the labas. But anyway, his poll, as he says, and Prime Minister Young would have warned us a couple nights ago, be prepared to see all kind of bogus polls coming out this week, showing that UNC ahead and all of that and whatnot. So I think what I saw on Hamid Ghani's poll, it says 45, if the election were held today, 40% or 45% would vote for the UNC and some 30% for the PNM, and then you have the breakdown of the other political parties. That has not been my experience. If I were to rely on my interactions with constituents in Malabar Mausika, that certainly has not been my experience, right? Because almost every household that we go to, it's PNM. Persons have committed their support for the People's National Movement, and even if you may not meet everybody who lives in the household, they tell you, well, you have 6 votes here, 10 votes here, But perhaps one of the most echoed sentiment that I've heard from PNM supporters has been, we cannot allow these people to get back into office. And I think that is a motivating factor that is not being taken into consideration. And so solid PNM people are solid PNM people. They stick into it. You have 1 or 2 persons who you encounter who telling you that they're on the fence for whatever reason. I met an old man, looked like he could probably be in his 80s, outside in his yard with his walking stick, trying to fix his gate because he has an electric gate, right? An automatic gate, and it came off of the track. So poor fella, they're fighting up with it, and his daughter, I assume it's his daughter, she was outside in her car, and when we came upon their home, so the daughter says, well, there's a PNM house in but we are too sure, because she's a nurse. And then she said, I hear the Prime Minister say that they're going to settle wage negotiations with nurses. So I was on the fence, but I was happy to hear that. Tell Stuart, don't play with we nurses, but I'll give him a vote. Mr. Man, he gone off on a tangent. So he there looking at me and it's like, you're pretending that you're not taking on what is taking place, but you're getting the occasional side glances as he wants me to approach him, wants me to greet him. So he's just there. So I said, sir, good afternoon. I was like, all right. Not me and the PNM now. I use PNM all my life, and PNM want to take away people pension. They want to take people pension just because you have a 25,000 in the bank, they come in to take your pension. I said, sir, that is not true. That is not true. There was a bill which has since lapsed because Parliament was dissolved. So all bills that were pending are now, what's going on with this thing? All bills that would have been before the House have now lapsed, and therefore it is left to see whoever the new government is post April 28th, whether they will bring it back on the legislative agenda. I said, but this particular bill had been removed even before Parliament was dissolved, because there was one contentious clause that spoke to new persons, new applicants for the senior citizens grant that had suggested that if they had $25,000 in savings, or as the case may be, or more, that they may not have qualified for the senior citizens grant. But as I indicated to him, that the clause was pulled and then the bill would have been subsequently pulled, but that didn't prevent the UNC from continuing to lie to the people, as is the norm, to say that they come in to take your pension. And this is the second individual senior citizen that I have encountered over the last few weeks who expressed such concerns to me. But this guy was a little more animated, and I really, as agitated as I was to engage him, he was becoming a little, so he's all the body language, PNM taking from you and Kamala giving and PNM taking. I said, what is Kamala giving you, sir? Kamala giving you everything. She gave you everything. Not me and all I done with the PNM. Okay. So I said, all right, have a good day. And I left. And that is how potent misinformation is. And it is unfortunate that the UNC is fighting a campaign based on lies, propaganda, misinformation, which seems to be resonating with some people. But they've not been able to fight a campaign on vote for us because we could do better. Vote for us because we are reformed. And therefore, what happened between 2010 to 2015, we can give you the assurance that you would not see a repeat of that or see that multiplied hundredfold. So they are running a campaign of vote out the PNM, not necessarily vote in the UNC. And that has always been the case in Trinidad. We vote out governments, but we don't vote in a government. So the opposition by default ends up coming into government. And we would know that if we recall 2002 to 2007, again, the Manning administration would have gotten a second term in office by virtue of the good work that they did. A lot of it, some people didn't give credit for. And we need to understand that in Trinidad and Tobago, it doesn't matter what PNM government does. There will always be people who say they did nothing. Now, we had to take a little bit of licks for that because I think the party has not, where we fell short was in letting people know what we did, showing how many lives were impacted by work that was done. So we would have seen stories, especially with Marvin Gonzalez, for instance, in his capacity as Minister of Public Utilities and all the work that Marvin would have done. And persons continue to praise him for the work. Even persons who are not pro-PNM admit that Marvin Gonzalez as Minister of Public Utilities did quite a bit. So we would have read articles about 300 families and how many, or 300 residents and how many people benefited from the installation of this booster station or the laying of pipe. We saw what would have happened in Moruga Tableland, in particular Lengua Indian Walk, where there was that water trucking racket that had taken place for many years, and that constituency falls under the Kuva Tabaki Telparo Regional Corporation, right? And for years, they had been facilitating that nonsense and costing people tens of thousands of dollars having to order water through water trucking, all right? And then Marvin Gonzalez went in there. What did he do? He gave the assurance to the residents, within 30 days, this will come to an end. He did it in 21 days, I believe it was. Right? In 21 days, he fixed their problem. But the leader of the opposition, that didn't stop her from coming on a platform and lying and saying, oh, they run pipe in Lengua in their walk, wherever it is, and the people still not getting water in their taps. And so incensed were some of the residents, some of whom were UNC, that they saw it fit to call CNC3 to show them, look, contrary to what the leader of the UNC is saying, look, water flowing. Look, when I turn on my pipe, look, the water flowing out of the hose. So people were seeing that. But even in the face of that evidence, that didn't stop her from lying. Unfortunately, there are some people who, notwithstanding political affiliation and political allegiances, will not tolerate lies. And they were appreciative of Marvin Gonzalez for the work that he did in respect of that he made a promise and he kept it under the period of time that he said he would do it. It happened. Today, these people are enjoying water that they did not have and could not and weren't enjoying when Kamla Persad-Bissessar was Prime Minister. So when they say when the UNC wins, everybody wins. No, those people didn't win. You know who won in that situation? The private water truckers. We even hear that there are persons employed, senior persons, right? Employed at the Kuva Tabaki Telparo Regional Corporation who were part of that water racket and who were benefiting from the suffering of citizens. We heard that. So when they're saying when the UNC wins, everybody wins, that is not true. And we will discuss this morning some of the other ways in which the UNC, when the UNC wins, not everybody wins, right? So let's get into some of that this morning. So two of the most, how should I put it, boy? As I'm walking my constituency, the two things that people ask for the most, one is opportunities and facilities for the youth, and two, housing. And I keep hearing every day I encounter persons every day who tell me, you know, they've had HDC, they've had applications inside by the HDC for years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and nothing. They got a call, and then after that, nothing happened. After that, they've been in allocations for the longest while. They've done everything, and they're just waiting to be allocated a unit and to no avail. Quite a few people. I keep hearing that, and I know that that is replicated throughout the 41 constituencies. It's not just Malabar Mausika. But based on, also we've heard on numerous occasions that the HDC right now has about 162,000 applications before it for housing. Some of those applications would have been years old. Unfortunately, because these persons would not have been allocated units, they have now reached the age where they would not qualify for a mortgage. And so even if they were to get a house or to be allocated a unit, that is a big hurdle that they would be faced with, right? And that hurdle may be overcome if perhaps they have children who could co-sign with them, as the case may be, to take over the mortgage should they pass on. But that is one of the main issues. And I want to remind you all of something, right? Every time somebody tells me about their plight with respect to housing, I throw my mind back to 2010 to 2015. All of the housing programs that were started under the Manning administration, several of which were close to completion when the PNM lost office on May 24, 2010. Several of which the People's Partnership left abandoned. Last week, Attorney General Camille Robinson Regis and myself, we walked in Napoyo Court in Malabar, opposite or behind the Larry Gomes Stadium, as I've mentioned to you all on many occasions. That was one of the developments that the People's Partnership abandoned. The units were almost complete. They did nothing with it from 2010 to 2015, resulting in pipers. First, they took the galvanized fence that was protecting the site. When the galvanized fence went, then they went into the units and took what they could, fixtures and so on. So I said these things were about 90-95% complete. And therefore, you would think that their focus would have been on completing these things, these units, and distributing them, given the large number of applications that you had inside. They did not. When the Attorney General and I walked in Napoyo Court last week, first time I've been inside here, we were amazed, right, at the quality of units. In fact, Camille mentioned to me, and she made the comment, she said, they always say all kind of thing about the PNM and about the government. But look at these units. Look at these high quality units that the PNM government has delivered. So they made it a priority when they came in office in 2015 to complete those projects, Napoyo Court being one. So all of the units that were left abandoned and that were vandalized by the people, that were vandalized under the People's Partnership, were completed. Additional units were constructed, and today every single one of those units are occupied by persons who between 2010 to 2015 more than likely would have been renting. For that 5-year period when these persons should have been building equity in their homes, when they should have been 5 years closer to paying off their mortgage, they were paying money, rent money. And these units were just there languishing. And thank God, you, the right-thinking citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, did the right thing in 2015, and you all need to throw your minds back and ask yourself, why did I vote against the People's Partnership in 2015? Forget those people who will tell you, see, whatever happened between 2010 and 2015, I may care about that. Okay, you have no principle, right? Integrity be damned. And as I said, you can't purchase integrity when none exists. And I am realizing more and more of my friends who I thought had integrity and who were persons of moral and spiritual values and who had character, have none. Have none. Because when between 2010 to 2015, you and I talking and you tell these people are thing and they had to go and whatnot, the very things that upset you and that you were disgusted by between 2010 to 2015, you're now prepared to cast a blind eye and a deaf ear to it. A leopard don't change its spots. All those of you who did not learn that in 2010 and who decided to give them a chance. I met a few people during my walkabout of the constituency who told me, boy, the biggest mistake I ever make was to vote for Anil Roberts. I don't know how I put God out of my thought to do that. Well, some people had to burn to learn. And unfortunately, those of us who don't need to learn because we know what is offered, we have to burn too. When you all choose to play fast and loose with your vote and give it to them, knowing what they bring, and then when you make the wrong decision and give them the edge to lead government, and then the rest of us who knew better and who cast our ballot for the right party, we have to endure. And then you're coming to complain to us, but boy, I should have really listened to you. You know what he was talking about. Really? How that helping you? How is that going to help you? When we have to carry that burden for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days, because you know they're going down to the wire. But I come back to it when they say, when the UNC wins, everybody wins. No. All of those persons who are living in Napoyo Court today, they didn't win between 2010 to 2015. They did not. You know when they won? So the first set of residents, the first set of persons living inside there would have moved in around 2018, 2019, because this administration wasted no time when they came in to complete those housing units, to address the issue of housing for a lot of people. All right? And of course, there were some areas where the units were just in such a state of disrepair, and the government having to treat all of these different issues with all the debts that were left behind that they inherited from the People's Partnership, that the money simply was not there. They complain about this government, they build no schools between 2015 to 2025. That is untrue. According to information and data that I would have received from the Minister of Education herself, this government constructed over 30 schools in the last 10 years and would have done conducted repairs and so on and a number of others, despite coming into office and inheriting a debt of $3 billion being owed to contractors. So when they tell you the PNM didn't open this school and they didn't open that school because of spite and it's because the UNC built it, no. It is because monies were owed to the contractors, and the contractors did not want to release the schools to the state because they were owed money. And unless and until those debts were satisfied, the government's hands were tied. So it's not that they spite and it's because it's a UNC constituency. The money simply was not there to pay the contractors to have the schools completed. What you wanted the government to do? Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the People's Partnership had the highest energy revenues in this country's history. She said that. Those words came out of her mouth in January of 2019. She said that. So this is not anybody putting that on them and making a claim. That is what she said. And what value did we get for it? I keep asking, where is the People's Partnership equivalent of NAPA, SAPA, government campus, the waterfront complex? Where is their equivalent of that? In 9 years and a half years, 9.5 years thereabout, you got 5 hospitals. 5. The UNC between 95 to 2001 and then 2010 to 2015, 2 administrations, 2 prime ministers, you got 1 hospital in 11 years. 1 in 11 versus 5 in 9. But you know, for them, less is more. For 1 is more than 5. The same people who complaining about I have enough beds and 5 additional hospitals, and you're still complaining they don't have enough beds. How could it not have enough beds? Instead of advocating for persons to take better care of their health and stay out of the hospital, who wants to go and have to lie down on a hospital bed for weeks on end? Encourage, call on the government to do things that would help people, that would promote healthy lifestyles and healthy living, as this Minister of Health has been doing and is known to have been doing. That is what. Advocate for them to put exercise equipment in the recreational facilities around the country, so people who may not be able to afford a gym membership, that they could go. Ask for them to put walking tracks in the various recreational facilities so people could walk around, but there are other areas that people could walk to provide information telling people about the dangers of smoking and the dangers of consuming too much alcohol and the dangers of consuming beverages that are sugar-based and so on, and the impact that diabetes can have and high blood pressure. This is what you should be advocating for. Instead of calling for more beds and more beds and more beds to accommodate more sick people. So it's like you're just waiting for people to get sick. That is what is putting pressure on the hospitals, because too many of our citizens are sick. A lot of them have non-communicable diseases that could be avoided. But every day you want to be drinking a whole 2-liter Coca-Cola. You ain't drinking water. You're not exercising. You're living a sedentary lifestyle. What it is you expect? You're smoking a pack and a half of cigarettes every day. And all of these things are expenses that when you end up in the hospital that the government has to bear. But they're not talking about that, you know, in the time you're going to the hospital, you get medication, and you can't get this and you can't get that. What you need is education, not medication. Education on how to stay out of the hospital. But again, that is what the UNC does. Let us promise these things, you know, put things in your hand. So I want you all to remember, between 2010 to 2015, we're going back there, we go like that, that's all your business. because that is what we have to rely on, because they've done nothing between 2015 to 2025 that I could point to and say, well, yes, they deserve a second chance. They try to pull a fast one on you after telling you nothing is wrong with Ravi Ratiram as a candidate, nothing is wrong with Anal Ram as a candidate, but yet still, where are they today? Gone. Or so we think. They may not be candidates to sit in the lower house, but remember, the upper house is at the discretion of the Prime Minister. And should, God forbid, they win, there is nothing preventing Prasad Bisesa from bringing Ratiram as a senator, bringing Ram as a senator, and whoever else, Indar Singh as a senator, to make them ministers in what will undoubtedly be, again, the largest cabinet in this country's history. The last time, 33 ministers to govern a country of about 1.4, 1.5 million people. And I always draw the example that between 2010 to 2015, when Barack Obama was president of the United States, which has a population of about 335 million people, he had a 23-member cabinet, 23 members. Same thing as Keith Rowley. So when they talk about who wants to make the rich richer, and Prasad Bisesa sees governance and government as a means to create jobs for the boys. David Abdullah told us that very early on, before he departed from that den of iniquity. And he spoke to Prasad Bisesa about all of these special purpose companies, some of which he felt was not necessary, and that they could have been consolidated into others and so on to do the work. And she told them, well, you have a point, but I can't do anything about that, because these are the entities that we are going to use to create jobs and create opportunities to reward the boys, to reward them. That is what it's about. It's not about taking care of the needs of the poor. But they continue to give you the impression that only the poor, that government is only about poor, only about the poor, putting money in the hands of the poor. So the rest of society, to hell with them. What did the UNC do to benefit the middle class? The same middle class that they tell you dwindling under this PNF government. What did they do to assist the middle class? We know what they did for the upper class, right? All the lands that they were giving away in Shagaramas, we know about that. So when they say, the PNM, 1%, Keith Rowley didn't give any leases to anybody in Shagaramas. That was all Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the People's Partnership. And in their National Economic Transformation Plan, they talk about continuing that should they get back into office. As incensed as you were as citizens of this country that prime real estate was being given away at peppercorn rates in Shagaramas, concerns that you had that they were going to create a situation where you could no longer go freely into Shagaramas, but when you reach a certain point, you might have found a barrier at the road, and you might have had to pay to get inside there unless you were going to one of the many businesses inside there. But all you're talking about thing and UNC is for everybody, really? How many persons of African descent did they give lands to in Shagaramas? How many? They sought to take away lands from the Guava Road farmers. So when they come to tell you when the UNC wins, everybody wins. The Guava Road farmers didn't win last time. They didn't win. They lost, and lost big. Just remember that. When those men came into the studios of 91.9, big men crying. When it is that during the 2013 by-election for Chaguanas West, and they were giving out contracts galore, man, for people to clean drain and all kind of thing. Man went and opened business and rent and lease equipment to get contracts. And after the work was done, when time to pay, pressure, who mortgaged the house. Again, these are big men who came into the studios of 91.9 on the Sunshine Hour, crying in the studios, telling you who mortgaged the house and mortgaged the car and all kind of thing to take loan to rent equipment to carry out these contracts. And then when time to pay, Rambachan, Suraj Rambachan, who was at the time the Minister of Works, coming to tell you, well, we need to go and verify the work. And the length of time that it took them to send people to verify the work, obviously, if you're doing clearing drains and all kind of thing, the set was started to build back up. And then they refused to pay some of these men whose homes were at risk of being lost, who would have committed their life savings, monies that they would have set aside for their children's education to invest in renting and leasing equipment to be able to conduct these contracts and carry out these contracts, only to be shafted by the government after the election when they lost and Jack Warner won the seat. Right? So all of that was to fool people in Chaguanas West to stay within the ranks of the UNC. And they went and voted for the ILP and vote for Jack. And after that, because they didn't win, these poor contractors had to suffer. So they didn't win. These contractors did not win. But coming back to the issue of housing, Napoyo Court, which is today fully occupied, persons who are grateful, several of them said, listen, how I could vote for anybody else but the PNM, I have a home today, my own, because the PNM built this and the PNM gave this to me. My name was on the list for how much years, and the PNM came and gave me this. If the People's National Movement had done like the People's Partnership and left those units abandoned, today those people would not be living there. And some of these people that we went to had their front doors open, and when you take a peep inside, you can't believe that is an HDC unit. Those who had the door closed, and when you see how beautiful the fancy doors and things, how these areas are kept, you would think some of these housing units, HDC housing units, could rival townhouses in some of the big shot areas in the West. But no kudos for that. And these people are happy. The children could ride around the area. They're not too concerned about the issue of crime and so on. Quiet neighborhoods. And everybody on the compound, well, most people on the compound, living neighborly. Thanks to who? The PNM, not the UNC. Because they consider this is a PNM constituency. But even though Dabadi Omera was under Anil Roberts, what did he do? What did he do when people want housing? You know what he did? Those that were completed, in order to reward his team who worked with him in the election for 2010, some of them get 2 HDC houses. Didn't have 2 pennies to knock together, but they get 2 HDC units. I know this is what they told me, because a couple of them worked with me on my campaign in 2013. One of the guys is deceased now, but I told you all before, every evening when he worked with me, he won $20 so he could buy some punch-in. Walking with 1.5 slippers because the heel going on the next slipper, and so he go in every afternoon and he say, yeah, it's two units, and he'll give me, you know. I said, so what are you doing with 2 units? He said, well, I give my daughter one and I keep one for myself. How are you paying for that? You don't have money to buy a punch-in, so how are you paying for that? They were rewarded. So that is why sometimes when you go inside there, a couple of times that we would have gone into that compound and you see some people have up their UNC signs. So there was one young lady who yesterday, she had an Easter event for the children on the compound. And when we went in there the first time, she approached me, she gave me a letter telling me that, asking for support then. I said, sure, no problem. And I assisted. We gave them, I got one of my clients to donate soft drinks and snacks and the like, and, give a financial donation and stuff. And then yesterday, during the youth motorcade, we went back inside there and the event was going on. And of course, when we pulled up, so the children ran and they got their UNC flag and the UNC jersey and they come out dancing and so on. But then you could see on the girl's face, she felt bad. I said, nah, that's a small thing, man. That's children, But who put it in their minds to do that? So the youth, the young persons who were with me came out and they joined with them, and obviously everybody had a nice time. Our music truck started to play some songs, music and thing, and everybody came together. And it's one love, because at the end of the day, after the election, we all have to live here. There is life after the election. But again, another one of the units that was built, the projects built by the People's National Movement. But all those units that were abandoned and those people who are living there today, they did not win between 2010 to 2015. You know when they won? When the PNM came in. And the PNM completed the housing units and distributed it, and they were finally able to get the units that they are happy with and taking care of. You're then looking like some of the older HDC, NHA projects where you see they're just looking run down. It tells you the mindset of the people who live there. They appreciate what it is that they have. But let us not forget, and we'll read with that. You all have heard me talk about Victoria Keys. 162,000 applications inside HDC waiting for allocations. We don't have 162,000 units to give out. But we know that there was a housing project called, or is a housing project called Victoria Keys, incorporated Diego Martin there, that was supposed to be low income, middle income housing for the people that the HDC caters to, not the high income, not the people who could go to the banks and the other finance houses and get funding or financing to purchase a house and can do so easily. No, it is for the people who can't do that. The people whose income would not allow them to qualify for a $2 million home or a $1.5 million home. HDC caters to those people. But the UNC decided to attempt to change that. What did they do? They increased the income ceiling or the qualifying household income for an HDC unit from $25,000 to $45,000. Let us remember that. From 25 to 45. What was the purpose of that? The purpose of that was to enable their friends, family, and financiers who would not otherwise have qualified for an HDC home because of where their income is, right? Because they could go to the bank, they could get a mortgage from the bank, they could buy a house or buy land and build a house because they could qualify for that. But they increased the income limit from 25 to 45,000 to facilitate those people. And so they converted Victoria Keys from what should have been a regular HDC housing project to a high-end housing project, which basically would have eliminated the persons who HDC is supposed to cater to. Let me remind you all, right? Housing Minister clarifies issues raised in Express Story, re Victoria Keys. Reference is made to the cover story of today's Express, and this is an article from November 2017. Background: in September of 2016, Cabinet approved the distribution of 264 units at Victoria Keys. The following was agreed. 206 units will be sold on the open market, 48 units for rent to own under the Cabinet approved allocation policy, 10 units will be reserved for government use. One would recall that the Victoria Keys development in 2006 by the HDC, where upon completion, the development would provide affordable housing to low and middle income families, as is the HDC's mandate. The development at the time was expected to cost TT $200 million and was virtually completed in and around 2010. Completed. Subsequent to the People's Partnership assuming government, the Victoria Keys development was modified to include more luxurious fittings and amenities, such as fully air-conditioned buildings, swimming pool, clubhouse, play park, tennis courts, multi-story car parks with elevators. These modifications ballooned the amount spent on Victoria Keys to over $652 million. So from $200 million, the cost went up to $652 million, an increase of $452 million to put in all of these amenities. For whom? For whom? So it was clear that when they did all of that, it was not for the ordinary man who I encounter every day who is telling me they need a HDC house. That wasn't for them. That development that Manning and the PNM built for them was converted for the people who could satisfy the $45,000 income ceiling. So those persons, the low and middle income persons, you didn't win. You who should have been sitting on your balcony today with a view of the ocean, and you could look to see when it is that the cruise ships coming in or when they're leaving. Or you could look and see when the ferries coming in or leaving, or you could look at the sunset from your balcony on the 7th floor or the 8th floor. The UNC took that from you because they said that's too good for all you. And a lot of the people who they catered for by increasing the income ceiling to 45,000, a lot of them weren't interested in those units to live in it, you know. It was for rental income. That was the purpose. We know people like Jayanti Lakshmidiyal Ramdiyal, former senator, was one of the beneficiaries, not there, but she was a beneficiary of an HDC house 2010 to 2015. Jayanti is supposed to be a big shot lawyer. What's she doing with the HDC house? She has since sold that house for more than she would have paid for it. And that was reported and she admitted. For more than she paid for it. And living wherever it is she living now. Right? So who won there? Who win? You? Whose name has been on the HDC list for 10 years, 15 years, did you win? When you could have gotten an apartment there? That additional $452 million that was spent on that HDC development. If what the Manning administration bill cost $200 million, and that was 264 units, it means that you could have gotten another 530 or plus units, 550 units thereabout. That entire development times 2 with the additional money that they spent to upgrade it and put in all of these fancities and niceties So you feel you who was making your, who falls into the low income, you think they were going to give you a unit there? No, that was not for you. You didn't win. You did not win. You lost. Because that is units that they took off of the market, and this government, when they came in, had no choice. Because it goes on to say here, let me get it. At 652 million, the average cost to construct each apartment would have been approximately 2.5 million, which is out of the range of low and middle income earning citizens seeking affordable housing from the HDC. And as a consequence, the government approved the distribution of the units at Victoria Keys in a manner as mentioned above. It is important to note that the government has intended for the proceeds of the sales of the units at Victoria Keys to go towards the completion of other stalled HDC projects, which have been in abeyance for some over 10 years. So the monies that they got from selling those units on the open market would have gone to complete and add units at Napoyo Court, Beaufort, in St. James, down in the back by the Western Cemetery up on the hill there, that were finished, looking nice, and people want to go and live there in places like Real Spring and Valsine and South and so on. All of these units that they didn't give out. And then they waited until a couple months before the election talking about 100 houses a week. 100 houses a week. To do what? So when they're talking, when UNC wins, everybody wins. No, my friend. Because they're going to come back, you put them back there, and they will do the same thing. Increase the income ceiling again. Right? And bring back Victoria Keys into the fold so that you could give it to these persons for what? Small money? Because when you're in government, you could do whatever you want. And people could gripe and complain how much they want. They have to wait for the 5 years, 3 months and 14 days till another general election. And this time around, they will make sure they fill their pockets to the max. So when they get voted out in 2030, God forbid, you all should put them in office on 28th. Them good. They don't care. We happy. Munila Lenga be a young man. Kamla on her way out. This is her last hurrah. Her political life depends on what happens on the 28th. Because rest assured, when she loses on the 28th, they will slit her throat at the internal election because their leadership elections are due this year. Not executive. Remember last year was executive. That's why they get rid of Parry and Anita Haynes and Dinesh Rambali and Rai Ragbir. This year is only leader. Only the leadership position is up for contest. And if she doesn't win, if she does not win on the 28th, rest assured, all forbearance out the window. The wolves just waiting to get rid of her. And I think the patience of the UNC faithful will also run out as well. But then again, you never could tell where the fully dance. They might surprise you. But then it wouldn't be a surprise if they decide to keep her. All right? Some people just don't know when it's time to go. And at the end of the day, Pasabi Sessa doesn't want to go down in history as the only prime minister of the 8 prime ministers we've had to be the only one who never got the opportunity to sit in Whitehall. She wants that very bad. Very, very much. Don't underestimate that. And I'm saying to you, complacent PNM supporters, understand, the UNC base is very, very motivated to vote. And it has nothing to do with any belief that Kamla Persad-Bissessar could do any better. Right? Because they are hitching their hopes to past glories. Past glories. So they want to tell you, well, yeah, life was easier under Kamla and life was easier under Kamla. Well, guess what? The cost of living was less under Eric Williams. So let's go and let me go and resurrect Williams now. Let's go and resurrect Eric Williams. I'm certain cost of living was today, when you compare today to under Chambers, cost of living was less than. So let's go and resurrect Chambers now. Let's go and bring him back. Since all they want to talk about that. That's the nonsense. But when UNC wins, everybody. Let me tell all you, remind you all who wins. Let me remind you all who wins. Let me get this here. Just get this here. So, all your horses. You see who wins. Where is it? Bunch of jokers. So, let me get this here. Right. We go in. Hawaii got more than $10 million. So let's examine who wins. Finance and Economy Minister Larry Hawaii did not leave state-owned First Citizens with a golden handshake of 10 million. He actually left with 11.625 million. The 11.625 million is higher from what the former Nairi Alfonso chair board had agreed to pay him, which would have worked out to about $10 million. And the issue of Hawaii's exit payment was discussed by the First Citizens board on June 20th, 2012. The minutes from that meeting read, members agreed that they could lawfully make a payment to Mr. Hawaii and would exercise their discretion to do so for the purpose of encouraging and sustaining high levels of performance, particularly among executive staff. So here the reason we're giving him this golden, well, this platinum handshake, is so that when people see how much money you could get when you leave as CEO, they would stay with the institution and be inspired to aspire to become CEO. Members were asked individually on whether a payment based on years of service should be made to Mr. Hawaii in reward for past and meritorious service to the group, and whether this would be in the best interest of the bank and its ability to attract and retain the best personnel in the market. So if you're looking for work and you have the qualifications and you want to work for a bank, go to First Citizens and aim to be the CEO so that when you leave, you could get 11.625 million. Members voted by a 6-1 majority based on the legal advice of Mr. Martino and precedent set in the bank that it would agree to make a payment to Mr. Hawaii circulated or calculated on the basis of 2.5 months' salary for each year of service. Hawaii's additional 1.625 million came from a calculation of benefits he enjoyed as chief executive officer, and he would have received from the company had he stayed until retirement. Nobody forced him to leave. So they're all up in their feelings. Oh, Rowley get they say a 47% salary increase. It wasn't 47, it was 28. 28 because the Prime Minister's compensation package included something called a duty allowance, which was $9,000 a month. All right? That duty allowance was done away with, and that $9,000 that the Prime Minister used to receive as a duty allowance has now been incorporated into his base salary. So that additional, that 9,000 is something he was receiving all the time. There's nothing new or additional that he has received. So when they're all over the place yapping with the Prime Minister get 47% and 47%, rubbish. Study that the leader of the opposition, her salary went up by 76%, from $29,000 a month to over almost $53,000 per month. But they're not talking about that. The fully dunce, not talking about that. 76. Last I checked is more than 28. And it's more than 47 too. But when the Rowley get 47% and they want to give public servants 4%, I'm not telling her she didn't want to take it. We didn't agree with it. But then she take it. What did she do with it? The extra money. That extra money, the $23,000 additional that she's getting as leader of the opposition, what did she do with it? Why she didn't put it in the children's life fund since she's so care about children? Why didn't she donate it to her constituency and donate it to the poor? All who suffering, since according to them, everybody's suffering and eating grass and can't afford to pay their bills. Why didn't she say, well, I don't need that. We didn't want it in the first place. So you know what? I'm going to donate that $23,000 extra to some charity. Why didn't she do that? Where is it going? To her bank account so that she could enjoy it. So when they come up with nonsense, talk about they didn't agree and they didn't want it. Foolishness. You heard any one of them, any of the 19 of them on that side say they didn't want it? They get all of them get back pay. Every last one of them. What did they do with it? Did you hear any of them come and say, we're taking it and put it in the children's life fund? They're so concerned about these children who sick and can't, and when they come into office that they're going to bring an amendment to adjust the Children's Life Fund Act so that not only children with terminal illnesses, but they could also help other children as well. You all were contributing between 2010 to 2015 a percentage of your salary. Why you didn't give the back pay self? Say, well, all right, we'll keep the monthly increase, but we'll donate the back pay. Any of them did that? Not one of them. Hypocrites. But the fully done supporters want to come and tell you about 47% and 47%. Rubbish. And how much Rowley get $1 million back pay. But only give this man $11.625 million one shot. And then made him a minister. And he was collecting the ministerial salary. Because if you want to come and tell me, well, had he stayed with the bank, he would have earned X amount of money. Nobody forced him to leave. He chose to leave to become a minister. All right? So minus what his ministerial salary was from what he was earning as CEO of First Citizens Bank and pay him the difference. And it would have come up to a lot less than 11.625 million. But your taxpayers' dollars went. So who win? Who win? Did the customers of First Citizens Bank win? No, they didn't. You know who win? Larry Hawaii win. And he win in a big way too. So he got his 11.625 million and then became Minister of Finance Corporation Seoul. So now he was El Capo de Tutti Capi. He went from being the CEO of First Citizens to the boss of all bosses for First Citizens, collecting his ministerial salary and all of the perks to buy big vehicle and all of that. Living high off the hog. Why some of you who are applauding and talking about yellow is the code, stand up on the bus route in the hot sun waiting for Maxi. Where is Hawaii today? I'm pretty sure Hawaii probably don't even know what Citygate looks like. If you ask him where the St. James taxi stand is, he can't tell you. Ask him where the Diego Martin taxi stand is, he can't tell you. You know why? Because he's driving in his big high-end vehicle that he could afford based on your money. But you who complaining, oh, the fees, the bank fees so high, and the loan, the interest rate so high, and when you go in the bank as post service, and they only taking out fees from your account. Hawaii don't have that problem. Did you win when he got that 11.625 million courtesy Prasad Bisesa and her administration? Did you win? All who complaining, Rowley got $1 million back pay. But again, under them, less is always more. So $1 million back pay is more than a handshake of $11.625 million. Overnight millionaire. But the PNM want to make the rich richer, and the PNM didn't do that. Not one of Keith Rowley's cabinet ministers had to be paid to leave their job to come and become a minister. The Sunday Express understands that a directive was given by a senior government official to make the payment to Hawaii after he agreed to become Minister of Finance and the Economy 4 years before he was set to retire from the organization. So you're trying to tell me that in 4 years, which was left before he retired, he would have earned $11.625 million in 4 years? Really? So that is almost $3 million a year he would have earned? Is that correct? To make such a payment, the then board was guided by Attorney Russell Martino's legal opinion on whether the bank's directors would be in breach of their duty owed to the bank, its shareholders and or employees in making an ex gratia or other payment of a considerable sum to him on his early retirement. When they negotiating pay raises for the employees, any of the employees get 11.625? You hear them complaining? How about Hawaii get 11.625 million and how we only getting X percent? How come? If Hawaii could get that, well then they should have get big pay too. And we continue. Did they get 14%? They give 14% to the public service. All your boasting and beating all your chest about that. First Citizens is a state-owned bank. Did the workers they get 14%? I just asking. Having said above, I caution against the bank, and this is Martino here. He says, in my opinion, it would be prudent for the minutes to record that the payment is being made for that purpose. Pass on long and faithful services. After all, the senior employee has served long 31 years. He has served faithfully, so much so that he has reached the highest level of the bank. His achievements bear testimony to this, and the minutes should reflect his achievements in this context. The minutes should also reflect that the payment is also being made as testimony of the bank's efforts to encourage faithful services among its employees. So you could work as a teller for your whole time. You could work as a loans officer for the entirety of your time in the bank, and you ain't getting that. Right? You ain't getting that. But he get that. He didn't start in the bank as a CEO. He have worked his way up. So you compensated him and gave him big pay for all the years when he was just a low-level functionary? Really? Having said the above, I caution against the bank taking into account irrelevant considerations, and at all costs, the bank is to avoid considering the benefit of the senior official or what loss he would otherwise suffer. It is the benefit and best interest of the bank that matters. They ignore that and say, well, if he had stayed until for the next 4 years, he would have earned X amount, so we need to compensate him for that, as if he was working for free as Minister of Finance. Who win? Did you, the customer, you who have been banking with First Citizens banks for donkey years, did you win? Have you won? When he got at 11.625, did he give you any of it? You complaining that they're giving you 15 cents in interest and then taking $15 in service fee or whatever the service fee is. Did you win? Did you approve that? Because First Citizens Bank at that point in time was fully state-owned before they sold shares. So the main shareholders were you, the customers. Did you win? Did you benefit? From that, did you approve that? Did they consult you as a customer to say, well, we want to give the CEO 11.625 million? Do you agree? I'm pretty sure, had they given you that option, that the majority of customers would have said, hell no. So while his account has 11.625 million, when you watch, the same month he get his 11.625, you probably get 24 cents in interest. 24 cents. Who win? You win? Yeah, right. But they want to tell you when UNC wins, everybody wins. So the next time you go to HEC to check up on your application, to check to see if there has been any movement in allocations, and they tell you, no, don't vex at all. Because should they come back into office and then reverse what the PNM did and put back the income ceiling at $45,000 per month, understand that the number of persons applying, the number of applications will go from 162,000 to maybe about 220,000. So your odds of getting a house will drastically drop because you're now competing with an additional 60 or 70,000 people. So just forget it. Forget it. Better you go and look for a piece of land somewhere, put up a 2x4 as the leader says, because you can't win. Priority will be given to those persons because you're not going to increase the limit to 45,000 and then accept applications from these people and leave them languishing for 10, 15 years. No, when you do that, it's for a specific purpose. So there are existing units that are under construction, existing units that are almost complete, that this administration intends to give out to the people who it was intended for, low and middle income. All right? But put them back in office. And when all of those units, in my own constituency, there are units being built in phase 4. And a lot of people seeing it and they come to me and see they're putting up some houses there in phase 4. I don't know if I could get one of those. As I said, I intend to make representation. That if you're building houses in my constituency, that the MP should get a quota to be able to treat with residents, constituents in the constituency. Because you can't be building houses in the constituency and every one of those units are given out to persons outside of the constituency, and there are persons in the constituency who have needs as well. Some level of preference should be given to them. Even if you say, all right, we will give 10 units or 15 units to the constituency, that would help. It would help because that's not the only place. They're also planning. Preparation is underway for construction of units next to Price Mart on the highway there. I think it's called Pineapple or something. And then just across by Marvin in Trestrail, they have units going up there as well. So I think that the MP should be afforded. I don't know if that is a policy, but they should be afforded some quota to give to constituents who have been living in that constituency all of their life, have applied and are still waiting. But should the UNC come into office and decide they want to go back to that policy, right? Because their friends, family, and financiers would not qualify based on the current income ceiling of 25. Them who earn in 40 and 45 and $50,000 a month, and as the case may be, and you increase it, and you convert these houses into high-end units to facilitate these persons. Understand that you who talking about yellow is the code and hoping you get a house because you hear Jolene say 500 houses a week. I don't know how the hell they're going to do that. As Stuart Young says, unless they're building these houses with Lego or you're building matchbox houses for ants, there is no way you could distribute 500 houses a week on a sustained basis for 5 years. Ludicrous. But you have people buying into that stupidness. Yeah, well, we'll get a house. Really? You wait. You wait for that. 5 years will pass and you will still be in allocation. But just understand the number of persons that you will now be competing with. Housing units that you should have qualified for, you will no longer qualify for on the basis that they decide that they're going to increase the income ceiling to 45,000 and convert those units that you should have gotten into more high-end units. All right? Don't complain. You vote for that. Get this here. So, in a bit of good news that we would have gotten from, look at this here, right? From the U.S. Secretary of State, and I consider it to be good news. But anytime we hear anything about dragon gas, it doesn't please the UNC and their supporters, right? Now, this is something that the country needs. something that could benefit us in the short run. That's less than 2 years away from what would have been first gas on the Dragon field. And we know the impact that that would have had on our economy. It would have given us a little bit of wiggle room to be able to put things in place to diversify in other areas, because it seems the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago figure that only government, that responsibility for diversification lies 120% on the shoulders of the government. So only the government could diversify the economy, right? Never mind the fact that we have prime examples in other jurisdictions. The United States, they always boast that the economy rests on the back of the small businesses. Same in Trinidad. If you want to open a business, nothing is preventing you. You don't need to go to the government and ask permission. If you decide you want to set up a small manufacturing business because you want to do agro-processing or whatever, you have 5 acres of land, like the lady who I would have played for you all some months ago, the retired police officer who bought 5 acres of land in Kaiwal, intending really to, just do a little bit of gardening and so on, farming, planting pimento peppers in her retirement years to keep herself active. And the crop was significant, so much so that after she had taken for herself, she gave to friends, family, and she still had so much left over, trying to figure out what can I do with this excess. She wasn't inclined to go and sell in the market. And someone suggested to her, well, you could dry it and turn it into flakes and so on. And today she has a thriving business where her pimento flakes sell not only in Trinidad, but in the UK, in Europe, in Canada, looking to get into the US market as well. And all of that started why? Because she just wanted to have something to do in her retirement years. Now she and her son running the business, and who knows how it has expanded since then. So there are opportunities. But apparently there are some people who want you to believe to do that, you need the government's permission. Right? Need the government's permission for that. So she's earning foreign exchange. Because when she sells her products outside, she gets in US dollars, she gets in sterling, she's getting euros, as the case may be, depending on which market she sells it in. But apparently nobody else could do that. And you need the government to come and tell you to do that. Well, the hundreds of young people who have benefited from the homestead program and who would have been allocated the 2-acre plots, hopefully, they could think, come together, form a cooperative, a few of them, start a business and look to export what they're selling. Don't only look to the domestic market. You have regional markets and you have international markets as well. All right? Just thought I would throw that in there. Right. So let me just get this here. Right. That's no. Give me 1 second here, folks. There's so many things I wanted to talk about. Right. So again, let me just wrap up on the issue of the claim that when UNC wins, everybody wins. So, that's not. Let me get this. Let me get just now. Is it him by? Yes, no. So y'all, I'm sure many of you would have seen the video with Mr. Roger Alexander, the UNC's candidate for the UNC's candidate for Tunapuna. What is a community center? A community center is a center for the community. Thank you much for that elucidation, sir. I'd never thought of that. I don't know. That was just manna from heaven. I would have never thought of that. Okay. But this is the man who they're talking about. They want to make him the Minister of National Security. Bearing in mind, their plan to treat with crime requires at least 3 new ministries in addition to the Ministry of National Security. National Security, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Home Affairs, and Ministry of Justice. All right? 4 ministries to deal with crime. They have this answer and the solution to crime. 4 ministries. The 3 extra ministries that we do not now have would require ministers. More jobs for the boys. So that is 3 additional ministers who will be receiving the new salaries, the increased salaries of ministers that they don't want, who who will be receiving all of the perks that ministers are entitled to, that they don't want. It would also require you, state, to rent buildings to house these ministries. So that we know there are at least 3 UNC people who are going to win, not you. Not you, Joe, ordinary man on the street. You, that will apply to you. All right? Because even though you're all over the place like a fool talking, yellow is the code, and waving flag and all over the place, and wearing UNC jersey, and when PNM people pass it, we don't know you have no PNM here. You will not be a minister. All right? So you will not benefit from that. But the 3 persons who waiting in the wings, they will benefit from that. So they will win. You will not win. All right? When they drive in the big car, you will not win. When they benefit from all of the tax breaks and so on related to the purchase of the vehicle, you will not win. They will win, not you. So when they say everybody wins, you will not win. Just remember that. So go ahead and continue to fool yourself. When Prasad Bisasa riding the helicopter, because she's older now and she's allergic to traffic, when she's flying overhead and you stuck in traffic by NP flyover and you're going to Sangre Grande and it's about 2.5 hours in traffic, you will not win. She will win, right? Because she'll probably be home in about 15 minutes or less. You don't have that facility. You have no helicopter, so you will not win. Your taxpayers' dollars, though, will help her to win. Because the Prime Minister's office, Whitehall, is even closer to the Prime Minister's residence than where the Prime Minister's office was before, opposite QRC. So she's even closer now. But we know last time she didn't want to live there. She preferred to stay in her house in Philippines, so she could do whatever it is she wants there and entertain who she wants. Okay? So you wouldn't win. So when you see the helicopter flying over from the Queen's Park Savannah, just give a wave. Hey, let the Prime Minister go in there, boy. Yeah, just give a wave. Because she can't handle driving from Philippines to Port of Spain and Port of Spain to back every day. Not that she was doing that before, right? Because even before the helicopters were introduced and before she was flying in helicopter, she wasn't going to Port of Spain every day. She was working from home. Working from home. But you wouldn't win. But your taxpayers' dollars. Just remember that. Okay. So when they say when UNC wins, you're not going to win. All right? The persons who sit down waiting to get big position on state boards as chairman and vice chairman and whatnot and calling the shots, they win. They're not going to call you, so you don't win. Okay? People who are looking for ambassador positions and who want to go to the UK and who want to be in Paris and who want to be in the United States and Canada, they win. You don't win. Because they ain't calling you for that position. Okay? All right. They just want your vote. And they fully tell you that you'll win. No winning there. Just thought I'd throw that in there. So, let me see if I get this here.
That will assist all citizens.
Listen to Mr. Alexander's winning crime plan. This is how he plans for you to win with crime.
The policies that we are stressing in terms of crime are gated, protected community, walls, gates, cameras, and patrols.
Oh, yes.
You know that the upper class persons already have gates and walls.
Yes.
Yes, they do. But we want to bring that to every section of the community, depending on your design. So we're trying to bring that type of development to every community in Trinidad and Tobago that is so desired now to kind of enforce the safety and security for all citizens. How are we going to achieve this? We intend to put forward law to help us to achieve this goal, where we can implement measures in communities that will assist all citizens. It's about smarter, better safety and security for all citizens.
Okay. So that's a solution to crime. Gated communities. So the whole country going to become gated communities. All right. Does that include the hotspot areas where the criminals live into? So we're going to put the criminals in gated communities, walls, and security cameras, gates, police patrols. That's their solution. Who building these walls and who putting up these gates? Huh? You know what's going to win? The contractors who will be getting these, well, because not the ordinary man. So we had to hire people, contractors, so putting them on notice, hey, the government going on, their solution to crime is gated communities across the country. Right. Because apparently, so the criminals will be living outside the gates and outside the walls. Well, if that's the case, then it should be easy to arrest the criminals, right? Unless the criminals will also be living in the gated communities as well. Okay, but you hear him, man. So, who building the gates? So, hey, contractor, gate man, get yourself in a gear. Big contracts coming for you to build gates because we're going and create gated communities all over the country to keep the criminal element out. Because apparently the criminal element is living in the sky. Or they all living in one community. So we will not gate and wall that community, but everybody else. What does that tell you? Aside from the fact that yeah, he's dumb. Aside from the fact that is one of the most asinine crime fighting plans I've ever heard. Because he is saying the big shot areas have the gated community, but apparently none of the big shot, nobody living in a big shot area has been a victim of home invasion, right? So you who live in your space, you have your wall, you have your gate, but yet still they jump in your wall, jump in your gate, you pull up home to go into to drive into your yard, and when you stop to open your gate, if you don't have an automatic gate, they run out from the bush or wherever it is and they jump in and take your car. Okay. The very compound that he lives on, I told you all, 2 persons lost their vehicles within recent times. 2 persons. So I guess he's going to put up a wall and put up a gate there. There's a HTC development and they said it was supposed to be gated. So I guess he's making a plug for that. So when they spend money to put up the wall and put up the gate there. Okay. So who's going to win? The contractor who gets the contractor put up the walls. The contractor who's going to get the contractor put up the gates. The contractor who's going to get the contract for the cameras and to monitor the cameras and so on. Right? They will win, not you. You're not going to win. Now you might say I live in a gated community, so I'm safe. All right, so I win. Really? So in other words, the only time you're safe is when you're inside. But when you leave and you head outside, you're not safe. Because we can't wall the whole country unless we do the dome that Kamala told us about. Right? So when you go to the mall, all right, make sure you walk with the wall and the gate and the camera to be safe. You go to the grocery, make sure you walk with your wall and your gate and your camera to be safe. All right? Because that is their solution to crime. Because apparently crime is only take place at home. Crime don't take place outside. So you go into the casino, you like to do a little gamble, walk with your wall, walk with your gate, and walk with your camera and your police patrol. So you will be safe. Okay? So they don't intend to reduce the incidence of crime. They don't intend to apprehend the criminal element and incarcerate them. Of course not. They don't do that because they are the party for bail. Everything, you must get bail. This government, they say, figure that the solution to crime is to lock up everybody and take away the right to access bail. And they're not about that. So even if you commit murder, hey, bail for you too. And you could go back outside and kill again and make sure if you know who the witnesses are, kill them too. So you could stay out of jail. That's their solution to crime. Okay? Firearm users licenses for everybody, for all law-abiding citizens. So just make sure you stay law-abiding long enough to get if you have a little itch and a little inkling to become a criminal or to conduct yourself in a criminal manner, hold out until. So after you get your firearm user's license now, you could do what you wanted to do. Okay? So just make sure, maintain that you could get a clean certificate of character from the police, at least until you get your firearm user's license, and then you're good to go. Now you're suffering. You can't make ends meet. You don't know work. You want a food card. They're going to give you land for the landless so that you could put up a 2x4, but we're giving you a firearm user's license so that you could go and buy a gun. Okay. Because apparently gun cheap. You could buy a gun with food card. Or maybe they might give you a grant to buy a gun. You know, they had baby grants, so they might have gun grant now. So the government will give you a grant to buy a gun. Otherwise, the firearm user's license is useless. Now, we know the procedure. In order to get a firearm user's license, the police have to come and do their due diligence. They have to come and check home and all of that. See where you're going to store the gun, check your neighborhood. They have to talk to your friends and family to make sure that you have sound mind and somebody who could carry a gun. So instead of being out on the beat fighting crime, the police will now be, a significant portion of the TTPS will be now engaged in doing that, conducting background checks for people to get firearm users licenses. So they don't have time to be out on the beat fighting crime. Okay? So that is just a word to the wise. Criminal element, don't worry. The police wouldn't have time to be given all the tickets and all them things because they will be focused on going to people's business place, people's places of work, visiting homes and so on to have discussions with neighbors and friends and family to make sure that this person qualifies for FUL. Right? And then after those who out on the field finish their work and they bring the paperwork back inside, those who, you need more people on the inside now to actually process. So the commissioner of police, if he or she is right-handed, will have big biceps on the right hand, and these biceps here, right? And triceps on this hand gonna be small because they sitting down in office whole day signing FUL, signing applications, approving. That's all they do in whole day. Tens of thousands, only signing. Either that, or you had a gas stamp with the commissioner's signature, so the commissioner could get assistance. So have some other officer just approving. But we know with this outcome with ERLA, they can't do that, right? Because the commissioner had to approve. The commissioner is supposed to review the file and make sure everything is good. So ain't no commissioner coming after ERLA going and put their signature to nothing to end up in the same situation as ERLA. All right? So understand the commissioner don't have time to lead his charges because he or she will be spending whole day signing FUL applications. Okay? So we might hire some more police officers just for that specific purpose. Just to do that, to grant FUL. That's the solution to crime. So do not expect to see a reduction in home invasions. Do not expect to see a reduction in murders, as the case may be. Albeit, there's been a reduction this year. We are about 40-something less murders year to date than we were last year, but we ain't talking about that. Not talking about that. So let's focus on, that's their solution to crime. So they are basically throwing their hands up in the air, capitulated. We cannot overcome the criminal element. So the best that we could do is to try and put things in place to kind of forestall them, you know? But all right. Okay. But as Alexander, walls, gates, cameras, police patrols. Nice. So when they bring back the comfort patrol, you don't win. As the security agency who will get the contract to do the comfort patrols, they win. All right? When they increase the size of the cabinet and create new ministries, you don't win. Know who's going to win? The same landlords that they're talking about. Philip Alexander talking about the contract mafia and the 1%. And this government renting building from the 1%. Those are the ones who are going to win. All of those buildings that are now empty in Port of Spain, because this administration took the decision, 1, to operationalize government campus, 2, to utilize some of the space at the waterfront that was occupied previously by the parliament, to utilize that space as well, and also to build state-owned premises or state-owned buildings to house ministries, and moving these ministries out of rented accommodation. So all over Port of Spain, you have buildings that were previously occupied by ministries and government departments are now empty. Empty and have been so for a number of years. And the rent that was going into the pocket of the 1% has now remained with the state and is going towards constructing these buildings. But when you come and you create new ministries that are unnecessary, you need space. What you're going to rent? So, when I put God out your collective thoughts to put them in office. You see that blue glass building I always talk about at the bottom of Abercrombie Street and Independence Square that used to house customs before? Look out right now for the last 8 years when you're driving up Abercrombie Street and you look, you will see space for rent. Look and see if within 6 months of them coming into office, God forbid, or less, that for space for rent removed and building is now occupied. You're seeing work taking place, big truck pull up, bringing in furniture and so on to outfit and whatnot. So don't be surprised. And other buildings around Port of Spain as well. So when they come in and telling you about the 1% and the 1%, understand that they're trying to attract the 1% to their party. And how do you do that? Rent the buildings that the PNM have not been renting for the past 8 years. Bring back the rent that they weren't getting for the last 8 years. Oh, and of course they will happily be a friend. Happily be a friend because you are looking after their best interests. Because right now, these buildings are sitting there collecting dust. That's the only thing the landlord's collecting for the last 8 years, dust. But the UNC want to get them a different kind of dust. You know? That kind of dust, the kind they could spend. So they're just waiting in the wings. And every time they hear Kamala announce a new ministry, the Ministry of Artificial Intelligence, boy, yes. Call up the lawyer. Hey, I'm smelling a new rental contract, boy. I put in your notice soon. Come in. I could feel it. I could taste it. I could touch it. You know, like how Pasad Bisasa says she could smell the victory. She could taste it. She could touch it. Well, all of these landlords in Port of Spain whose buildings are empty, thanks to this administration, they could smell the new lease agreement. They could taste it. They could feel it. But he fully done saying talking about that. So when it is, you see, they come and they rent another one of Forest building. I'm waiting for them. The hypocrites. They say, hey, Rolly, no, my friend, don't come with that nonsense. The two buildings that the Ministry of Social Development using right now that belongs to Forest and family, all right? Headquarters, government-owned building on Travis Road. Soon enough, and it's going at a pace. So by the end of this year or sooner, that building will be finished. And the ministry could move in and no more rent for Forest and Zaman Enterprises. But if you have new ministries, every time she announces one, the same 1% clapping. Cheers, cheers. We're back in business. Remember, she have a dossier with 150 buildings that the 1% own. So she told us that in 2019. We're still waiting to hear about this dossier. So she just needs to open it and go through and see which one she wants and just call them. Because she have it. So they will win. You wouldn't win. No rent money for you because you ain't have no building. Roxo. All right? You want to know who else will win? We're asking the question where all this money coming from to fund the UNC campaign, because all of these ads and all kind of thing, money pelting, they're paying social media influencers. We hear they're paying people to walk and all kind of thing, these giving out jerseys and so on. Galore. Where the money coming from? The Prime Minister has asked that question. It has not been answered, and the UNC don't care to answer. Now consider this. If you were one of the contractors, local, whose name got called up in the Piarco airport, your thief, hundreds of millions of dollars, allegedly. And thanks to the UNC, you were able to escape the long arm of justice, criminal justice. But thanks to the PNM, you were not able to escape the long arm of civil justice. So they bring a case against your backside in Miami, and the court in Miami found wrongdoing on your part and ordered you to pay restitution to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago to the tune of almost $1 billion, which probably means all of your assets, down to your jockey shorts and all, you might have to leverage to pay this $1 billion. So basically, you're going through penniless. Which would you prefer? To pay $1 billion or about $20 million to fund that campaign? 20 million, 1 billion. 20 million, 1 billion. That 20 million looking doable, you know? Spend it so they could get into office. And then they either drop the civil suit or they just decide they're not going to pursue it. Same as we were told, Forest told us 2010 to 2015, when they came in 2015, the lawyers in Miami who had been retained by the Manning administration to fight that lawsuit said that for 5 years, 3 months and 14 days, they were trying to reach out to the then Attorney General Anand Ramlogan and his successor to get directions on how they should proceed with this matter in the court. Nothing doing. No response. And that case was at risk of being thrown out because nothing was happening. The case was on the docket in the Miami court, but every time it called, nothing happening. The lawyers said, well, we're waiting for instructions from the client, but we ain't getting nothing, so we're asking for an adjournment, and it adjourned, and they're just taking up the court time. So had we not had the PNM not won in 2015, for that 5-year period, it is quite likely that matter would have been thrown out. And today, we would not be facing the possibility of $1 billion in restitution from Steve Ferguson. But understand, Ferguson is no friend of the PNM. It is the PNM that took him to court. It is the PNM right now that has him by his cojones. It is the PNM that took your taxpayers' money to be able to get to the point where we are, where he can be bankrupt. And you, the money that they thief in the airport, that you could get it back with interest. The UNC not interested in that. They're not interested in that. Their only interest is to ensure that Steve get off. That Steve could live the rest of his life happily. Don't mind he can't fly, because the minute he jump on a plane, they snatch him wherever he goes. Interpol. So he living life here. But you feel he want to die a pauper? The legacy, the wealth that he planned to pass down to his children and grandchildren, that the PNM want to take and give it back to you so that you, the citizens, could win. Them saying, nah, Steve had to win. So put me back in office And we go full all with baby grant. And we go full all with gun grant. And whatever dotage grant we could come up with. Full all with that. I'm gonna let you get that. Yeah, boy. Anti-cams. We gain $1,500 every month. I just had to present my ID card and sign, and I gain a $1,500. I gain a $2,000, and I happy with that. And I rock back. They give me a food card, and I good to go. Let me see how much people give. Try like a breed. And you happy with that? And she give you a 10% pay raise. But you ain't really getting 10% because what percentage of that 10% pay raise that you get have to go to the tax man? So while she giving tax breaks to the wealthy, she said she's going to reduce the corporate tax rate from 30% to 18%. You hear she talking anything about reducing your tax rate from 25%? Any talk about that? No. You ain't going. The rich people, the businessman, the banks, who she complaining about? Predatory, digging out your eye with these set of fees, paying 35% in tax, thanks to Keith Rowley and his administration, but she wanted to drop that to 18%. Who winning? You? No, my friend. Are you a shareholder in the bank? If you're not, you will not win. So you better go and open a brokerage account and try and see if you could buy some shares in Republic, buy some shares in FCB, buy some shares in Scotia, so that when the tax rate drop, if they decide to give it to you in dividends, you go win a little thing, but not much. Because you can't afford to buy the amount of shares that you really need to buy to say you win. So you know who and win? The big shareholders. You know who's going to win? The directors of the bank. Executive management, who are going to get bigger bonuses and who could drive nicer cars and more money in their pocket. You don't win. The employees in the bank not going to win. Okay? Just remember that. But when Steve is all happy because I get away, boy, the PNM is going to make me pay $1 billion plus, but I only had to spend a 15-20 million for Kamala and the UNC for their campaign. Happy. The same people who want to tell you about, oh, Malcolm Jones, and they withdraw the Malcolm Jones case. Same people who want to tell you that. Understand, right? Understand that. You know who else is going to win? Your PNM administration has the EMBD matter in court. Munilal and TN Ramnat and Namalko and whoever else call up, who name call up in that thing. All them contractors and them. Right? $200+ million that your PNM government trying to give back for you so that you could win. So they could take that money and put it in something to benefit you, pave road, or you're complaining about the state of the roads. So that they could improve the water system, probably construct a few more booster stations in areas where the water pressure too low, or you're not, or the scheduling is not ideal. That they want to take them to court to get back that money. But rest assured, remember Kamala say that is just a ploy on the part of the PNM to make it look like all East Indian is thief. That is not real. There was no stealing of money there. There was no fraud. There was no bid rigging. All of that is lies. So Justice Aboud was part of the PNM conspiracy. The local appeal court with 3 judges was part of the conspiracy. And the Privy Council and their 5 judges. You know the Privy Council that they have all this trust in? The Privy Council that they always rating up. The same Privy Council that they said that Mr. Imbutt should be investigated, which didn't happen. Right? They said, one law lord said that Mr. Imbutt's conduct, as alleged by the Auditor General, should be investigated because since the Auditor General's conduct, as alleged by Imbutt, is being investigated, well, the Auditor General makes some claims about his conduct, so why are you not investigating his conduct and only her conduct? That's what was said by one law lord. The same Privy Council. So all of these people, James Aboud, the local appeal court, and the Privy Council, that's 5 by 3 by 1, 9 judges on different jurisdiction, say they're all part of this conspiracy to make it look like all East Indian and Trinidad is thief. So all of this information and evidence that EMBD put before the court, that is false. That is makeup. That bogus. The PNM machinated that. Just like the email gate to make it look like all Indian is thief. That's what she said. So put them in office on the 28th, and when 2 weeks later you hear that case drop. Because you have to drop it before the matter comes up for trial, right? And if the client say, well, we are no longer interested in pursuing this matter, case there, it's not a criminal matter. Now, there is some criminal investigation taking place, but if you put the right man or woman as commissioner of police, you could deal with that too. That could end up on a shelf collecting dust for the next how many years that you all decide to keep them there. So Steve will win. Munilal will win. All of the contractors who are currently before the court in this civil matter will also win. You don't win because you lose over $200 million that they get. And therefore, if you withdraw that case and you're saying that that is false, then the $400 or so million that the contractors claim is entitled, that they are entitled to, because they say the work was legit, the contract's legit, they had to get paid. And the UNC had to pay them, because if you don't pay them, then you're basically saying their claims were false. And therefore, if their claims are false, then why did you withdraw the matter? So withdraw the matter, which means that the contractors are in the right, and the hundreds of millions that they say they are owed, the state will now have to pay to them. You lose. Your taxpayers' money will go to pay that. They're laughing all the way to the bank. So all the money that they're putting out now to fund the UNC campaign, they will get it back and tenfold. When UNC wins, you don't win. Munilal will win. Right? Mr. Man, who Justice Aboud said has questions to answer and a case to answer. The man that Munilal allegedly made the CEO, based on the WhatsApp messages, the transcripts that we read. Because in the transcripts, we hear he asked for the work, and then he get the work. So there must be some legitimacy to these exchanges. So when they withdraw the case, nobody have any case to answer. And Munilal says, hey, do up the check for the 400 million and bring it from Malama, go and get them fellas. Hush all your mouth. You vote for that. And you win? And you win? Yes. When the contractor build the next big house, you win. Yeah, you win. You get your crumbs. You get your 10%. And the contractor get 150%. But you're vexed with Rowley. You're vexed with Rowley. Yeah, but you win. We will see how much win you win. Go ahead. Play fast and loose with your vote. No, go ahead, but you know why I do that? Why I give them people and them a vote now? Go ahead. When the supporters calling you all kind of names, when you go into a club, like I told you, all the gentlemen who went to this restaurant, and they say, we want all your here, all the only coming up in we place. Go from here. We don't want all your kind here. Your money not good here. When you're getting that and you're seeing constant postings about that on social media and people having that experience, hush your mouth and take it. When you go and you get that, say, sorry, sir, I didn't mean to. I apologize. Pick up your bag and walk out the people place, please. You're not welcome there. Your money is no good there. Don't complain. Don't come on Facebook and complain. Just say, sorry, sir. 1,000 pardons. It wouldn't happen again. And then go on the directory and look for all those restaurants and facilities that are owned by persons of Africans. But you mightn't find plenty. Okay, remember, they tell you African people can own business. We don't know what it is to run business and own business. So you might have to stay home. All right? Stay home, but hush your mouth. Don't complain. Let me remind you all again of what it is Poseidon Bissessar is offering you as a minister. Where is it? Look at the caliber of people that the PNM offers you. 41 standard bearers of solid character. Not one of us in any couture and bacchanal. None of us. Not one of us was paid to leave where we work in to come and run as a candidate. None. On the other side, you can't say that. But let me get this here. Let me remind all you. Some of you all, yeah, and still all your head hard. Remind.
These people have to burn. And that's how you have to say it, you sons of bitches. And Camille Robinson Regis, that deceitful, devious, double-tongued, hypocritical bitch, stand up there holding she belly and bawling. Oh, God! And all like, these people have to burn. And that's how you have to say it, you sons of bitches. And Camille Robinson Regis, that deceitful, devious, double-tongued, hypocritical bitch, stand up there holding she belly and bawling. Oh, God! And all I thinking in my mind is, you bitch. But these people have to burn. And that's how you have to say it, you sons of bitches. And Camille Robinson Regis, that deceitful, devious, double-tongued, hypocritical bitch, stand up there holding she belly and bawling. Oh, God! And all
Your future Minister of Education. Yeah, your future Minister of Education. Because he advocates for the children. Stop giving the children homework. When they finish school and they go home, it's for the relax thing. Stop giving them homework and all of that. You're Minister of Education. That's how he speaks. But that isn't a good day. Because he said worse than that. And all I don't like to hear the other one, who potentially could be a next Minister of Sports again, who is even infinitely worse. All right? You're proud of that? That is the best the UNC has to offer you as a minister? But Dr. Rowley just said, liking a woman to a golf course. Oh, Lord, Rowley, nasty and crass. And, he has no etiquette. He had nothing about him. Stuart Chung make a comment in the parliament off mic. They're going out. You hear them. You hear that one? Say what you want. And you feel if he were to become a minister, he will stop saying it? No, because he subscribes to a different type of politics. And he figure everybody, that is what they like. That's what they like to hear. He's unscripted. You don't put water in him out to say nothing. That's what we want. And so we go from a minister who forced a woman to perform oral sex on him on at least 2 occasions for a HEC house that she never got, to that. Just as bad. Just as bad. 2010 to 2015, every Monday morning is a different minister cabinet to shuffle because a different minister had to get fired, demoted, because they didn't get calling wrong stand up. Every Monday morning you're hearing about a minister bag of money. But Prasad Bisasa has confidence in every single one of her candidates. All of them. So you bring a certain nondescript that nobody know about and figure you could fool people. You could whitewash. You could sanitize your party. Same thing Ole did in 2010, but these people don't have the same pedigree as people like Winston Dukaran and people like Vernon Dilema. Then Anand Ramlogan, when he seemed to have some modicum of decency. People like Gillian Lucky. All of those folks who belong to the COP. People like David Abdullah and so on, and Makandal Daga and all of these folks, they're not around this time. So all of these new people that they bring, we know nothing about them, what their background is, other than they're willing to associate themselves with UNC. And as Rodney Charles says, nobody with integrity wants to associate with the UNC. He was there for almost 10 years, so we could only assume that he knows what he is talking about. And if he said that, then it is natural to come to the conclusion that none of these new people, the neophytes, have any integrity. It's all about the money, the treasury. But we're talking about when UNC wins, who wins? You see the cotton notes? The $500 million in cotton notes that's still outside, that never came back inside. So when they come in and decide, well, we're going to reverse that law. So you could now bring in your cotton notes, come to the central bank, bring your $100 notes, and millions of $100 notes, cotton notes coming in, and we ain't hearing nothing because the instruction is take it. So they're giving all of these little black boys, and you go and hold that 10,000 now. So you go inside, you carry that, you get change, you go take 2,000 and you bring the next 8,000 in the new notes. Right. Yeah, that no problem, because you get an easy 2,000, you catch a next one, they come. We need you hold that. You're going inside there with 20,000. The access say, yeah, Baba. Yeah, go in and change that now. 20,000, hold 5 for yourself and you bring the 15. Turning a blind eye. Who are giving? Seeing people coming with their money. So, single mother, 5 children. All right, come. So you go, hold that 20. You go 10 this week and 10 next week. All right? You go hold that 5 for yourself now, or 3,000 for yourself, and the rest you bring it for me and we sort out. Okay? Understand? Who wins? Who wins? The person who get any 2,000, the 3,000, no, they don't win. They get a short win. But that money going and spend it about a week. But the one who giving them and calling them, come, they benefited. They will win. So all the money that's in pigtail bucket and all the money that's stuck up and they waiting, hoping to get back in office so they could turn in those cotton notes. When it happened, hush your mouth, you vote for that. Don't vex. Don't say nothing. Keep quiet. So one more thing before I open the lines. How to talk about this. Let me get this here, right? So, let's see. Where is it? So let us get it here. Right. Secretary Rubio's call with Prime Minister Young of Trinidad and Tobago. This is from the U.S. Department of State. All right? The U.S. Department of State. And reposted by the U.S. Embassy in Trinidad and Tobago. The below is attributable to spokesperson Tammy Bruce. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke with Prime Minister Stuart Young of Trinidad and Tobago to reaffirm the strong U.S. Trinidad and Tobago bilateral relationship, emphasizing shared priorities in regional energy security and economic cooperation. Secretary Rubio recognized that energy security is important to Trinidad and Tobago's prosperity and economy. Any outcomes of sanctions upon the Maduro regime and Venezuela is in no way indicative of our relationship with Trinidad and Tobago and the value we place on it. The Secretary recognized that strategic importance of Trinidad and Tobago's energy initiatives and Young's effective leadership in this area. Young's effective leadership, not Kamla's effective leadership, not Kevin Ramnarayan's effective leadership, Young's effective leadership. Both sides agreed that we are going to work very closely to find a solution that achieves U.S. objectives regarding Venezuela without harming Trinidad and Tobago. He welcomed Prime Minister Young's exploration of viable options that support the country's energy needs while remaining consistent with U.S. sanction policy. Prime Minister Young emphasized his government's continued commitment to responsible energy sector development and regional security cooperation. Secretary Rubio reiterated the U.S. support for democratic governance and long-term stability across the Caribbean. What is important to note about this? One, that the call came from Rubio. Stuart Young didn't call Rubio. Rubio called Young. I didn't read or see anywhere where Rubio spoke to or issued a statement on a call that he had with any of the other leaders that he met in Jamaica. He met with the Prime Minister of Jamaica. He met with the President of Guyana. He went to Guyana. He went to Suriname. He spoke to Mia Motley. I haven't seen anything saying that he called any of them subsequent to that visit, but he called Stuart Young. In fact, I think this is the second interaction that they've had since that meeting. All right, because there was something posted, I think week before, about some other discussion that they had. So clearly, Trinidad and Tobago is on the mind of Mr. Rubio. Clearly, in that meeting that Stuart Young had with Mr. Rubio, he left an impression, an indelible impression, so much so that Mr. Rubio seems interested in treating with this issue. Now, two of this country's newspaper publications basically characterized this call as Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State and the United States, willing to work with Trinidad and Tobago in furtherance of the Dragon gas deal. And of course, the fully dunce, who claim they want the best for Trinidad and Tobago, and that's why they're supporting yellow is the code. All of them have an issue with that. And saying, oh, show me which part in the statement they mentioned Dragon gas. Rubio never said nothing about Dragon gas. Rubio spoke about, and I will repeat it, the Secretary, any outcomes of sanctions upon the Maduro regime and Venezuela is in no way indicative of our relationship with Trinidad and Tobago and the value we place on it. The Secretary recognized the strategic importance of Trinidad and Tobago's energy initiatives and Young's effective leadership in this area. What are our energy initiatives as it pertains to Venezuela? What? Mention is made of Venezuela. He goes on to say, both sides agree that we are going to work very closely to find a solution that achieves U.S. objectives regarding Venezuela without harming Trinidad and Tobago, and he welcomed Prime Minister Young's exploration of viable options that support the country's energy needs while remaining consistent with the U.S. sanctions policy. What energy initiatives does Trinidad and Tobago have with Venezuela? We have Dragon. Number 1, Coquina Mannequin. Number 2. So when these clowns, these fully dunce, want to come and tell you how they talk, tell me which part they're talking about Dragon. Well, okay, take Dragon out of the equation. What else? What other energy initiatives do we have with Venezuela? Tell us, please. If any of your trolls, UNC trolls on YouTube, please tell us what else do we have with Venezuela? We waited. So they ain't talking about all this talk about Venezuela and Stuart Young exploring options and so on as it pertains to Venezuela. What else? So take Dragon. So they weren't talking about Dragon. What else they were talking about? Ginger? Calypso? Ruby? Emerald? How to be? Because apparently they ain't talking about Dragon gas there. But the fully dunce so hate to hear anything positive about Dragon because they figure that will give the PNM the edge because the country know how important that is and the fortunes it could bring. So we don't want to hear nothing positive. Dragon dead. Dragon dead. Their leader said Dragon dead. The leadership of their party said Dragon gas dead. The media said so. Everybody was saying so. You know who wasn't saying so? Stuart Young wasn't saying so. The PNM wasn't saying so. All the others who were saying that. Dragon dead. What were we saying? Dragon isn't there. The gas is there. It will remain there. It ain't going nowhere. It's not going to evaporate. It's there. This current US administration is only there for a time. So after they are gone, Dragon will still be there. So even if we have to put it in stasis until such time. But because of Stuart Young's leadership as advocated by Mr. Rubio, and his belief, you feel when Stuart Young makes his statements about Dragon and that he's going to fight for Trinidad and Tobago, you think when these things are said here, it doesn't get back to the ear of the US? They have a whole embassy here. A whole embassy. So Stuart Young would have been able to effectively articulate the significance, the importance of Dragon to Trinidad and Tobago's economic well-being. So clearly he left an impression on Rubio that has been playing in his mind because as he called, as Stuart Young said, Rubio was on his way back to the United States from Paris. He was on his way back. He went to Paris to do whatever. And on his way back, he decided to call Stuart Young. So pressing is this thing on his mind. He could have waited till he reached back to the United States. He could have waited a week or two. But you just left Paris on your way back to the United States. And this thing is so pressing on your mind that you felt you needed to call Stuart Young and talk to him. Because clearly, what he told you in Jamaica resonated with you. Clearly, Rubio would have been, moved by whatever it is and probably like Stuart Young vibe. It's two young men, not one young man and a old. Let me not go there. Let me not go there, right? But when you have two kindred spirits, two men of probably close and similar age who could relate to one another, Rubio is not a monster. There is that side of him that he understands. You think he doesn't want the best for the Venezuelan people? His roots are Venezuelan, I think. Is it Venezuela or Cuban? I can't remember which one. But he doesn't want the Venezuelan people to suffer. At the end of the day, he has sense. He understands that the more pressure you put on Venezuela, yes, you want to get rid of Maduro. But Maduro is still living high off the hog, ham, lamb, and jam, while it is the citizens of Venezuela who are suffering. And when it is that you now send back, you just revoke the parole status of 530,000 immigrants, a lot of whom are from Venezuela. And when you send them back, what do you think is going to happen? When they're struggling to eat and Maduro eating good. So obviously he must be concerned about that. So Stuart Young now has given him the assurance, look, I am the only person, notwithstanding, who could probably come up with some viable options. Because the only concern of the US is that no money goes into the hands or the pockets of the current Maduro administration. But if there is a way that we could extract the gas and sell it without putting money in the hands of the Venezuelan administration, Maduro administration, I am certain the US would welcome that, which is what they want. And it is for Stuart Young now to be able to do that. He is the only person who can say, hey, what now, Nicholas? The gas there, they revoke the license, which means you won't get no money anyway for the next 45 months. It's only 3 months of the Trump administration has gone. So for at least for the next 45 months, you ain't getting nothing anyway. All right? And we ain't getting nothing either. But who knows? Maybe. There's something we could work out where we can still extract the gas. We just can't give no money for now. We can't help you. But don't worry. Something will work out. You have Venezuelans here. So the government could use some of that money to take care of them. You know, you could see what we could do, how we could assist. Non-monetary, of course. But Stuart Young is exploring options. Kamala Prasad says they can't explore no options. Maduro don't want to hear them. He don't want to talk with them. No conversation with them whatsoever. None. You feel she could pick up the phone and say, I would like to speak to Nicholas, please. Who is Kamala? Clicks. Don't ever forget out your collective thought to come and bring no phone and tell me nothing about Kamala Prasad on the line. I don't want to hear that woman. The nastiest of things that she has said about me, forget that. So when David Lee come in to tell you that they will speak to the US, put them in office and they will talk to the US, BS. Even if you talk to the US and the US give anything, you still have to go and talk to Maduro. It's his gas. He's the man in charge of that. So that is a three-way conversation, right? It is not a dialogue. It's a three-way conversation. You can't come and negotiate with the US for the man gas and don't talk to him, and he don't want nothing to do with you. You're mad? Stuart Young could do that. Them can't do that. Just the other day, the same US sent an envoy early in the term to go and talk to the same Nicolas Maduro to negotiate the release of 6 American hostages, if you want to call them that. 6 American citizens who were being held as prisoners in Venezuela's prison. The envoy didn't go and talk to the ambassador. He went to Miraflores Palace and he spoke to Maduro. He shook Maduro's hand. We saw the picture with the two of them. So if it is, they could tell us, well, here, well, you could talk to Maduro and see what could be arranged. But he can't get no money. But if it is, you could work out something else. No problem, but can't get no money. The only man who could do that is Stuart Young. David Lee can't do that. Kevin Ramnarine can't do that. Kamala can't do that. So why are they telling you? Pull the plug. Pull the plug. Dragon on life support. Showing no signs of brain activity. Pull the plug. Stuart is saying, hey, hold up. Dragon is only in a coma for now. But it will come out of the coma. Don't touch that plug. Don't touch that plug. We ain't playing that here. But UNC, pull the plug. That dead. No hope for that. Call the cemetery and tell them prepare a plot. Call the funeral home and tell them it have a body to go and pick up. They're dead. Stuart is saying, hold your hand. Leave that. Right? That stayed on life support until I am telling you that coming out of a coma and will walk again. Which leader you want? The one that is ready to read the eulogy for Dragon Gas? Or the one that is there telling them, hey, hold your hand. Massage the leg. We don't want no muscular atrophy. Massage the hands. Right? Do all of these things. Do whatever therapy you could do in the meantime. So that when the eyes open, we could get to work one time. So start doing the little things. Which leader you want? You want that one or the other one picking out hymns? The other one who want to go and view the plot in the cemetery. Because you know she loved the cemetery, the political cemetery. Might be left to see who is the latest corpse that she dig up over this weekend here to present in this last week before the election. But you have a choice to make on the 28th, 1 week from now. 1 week from now. And just remember, as I keep telling you, you only have one chance. If you make the wrong choice, you will carry that choice for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. Do I expect me to come and sit down here and talk to all of you for the next 5 years, 3 months? I wouldn't have time for that. And as I keep saying, I want to be able to effectively represent my constituency. All of you who telling me, I want you to jam Munila, and I want you to jam this one, and jam that one. Yeah, well, if I sit in on the wrong side of the aisle, I can't jam nobody. You know why? Because if you make the wrong choice, then I have to now humble myself to go and beg for my constituents. I could get a house. Give me 2 houses now. I have 2 people who do this, but you could give me 2 houses, please. I need this road fixed. You could pave this road for me, please. It have a drain there that need fixing. You could help me out. I can't jam nobody because if I jam in them, I say, well, nah, nothing for you. He want to be jamming me in the parliament and then want to play come and ask me for thing nothing salt. How am I supposed to serve my constituents? I tell I can't help you, And they'll say, well, stop jamming the people in the parliament. That's not what we send you there for. Okay, well, I had to eat humble pie. So I just sit down like I wouldn't judge in a Ram good session. And debates going on and me ain't saying nothing. So when all you're not hearing me, don't complain. Don't complain. Or they silence me. So I just had to toe the line because I had a beg. This one want a disability grant. That one want a food card. I had to go and beg. Please, sir, can I have some more? Please, sir, can I have some more? Because you play fast and loose with your vote and make a beggar of me and the rest of the PNM MPs who will win their seats. Because you talking nonsense, but yellow is the code. And yellow is the code. And when they come in and they fire people now, and they come into me, they say, well, I had my work here, and I lost my work here. What you can do for me? I can't do nothing. My hands tied. You think they care about making the PNM MPs look good? No, my friend. They can't. So my constituents will have to get accustomed to 5 years of me saying, I can't help you. I'm doing my best. The best I could do is write a letter. So I will become the best letter writer I'd have. But I can't do nothing more. Right? So they do the shoppiness. And it's either I decide to jam them and my constituents suffer, or humble myself and see what crumbs I could get for my constituency. Because some of you all vex because Rowley take 47%. And they only offer any public servants 4% and 5%. For me, I'm voting. Or yellow is the code. So your selfishness, and you couldn't care less about the other people who will have to suffer. And understand, put them in office. They will do everything that they could to turn the marginals into strongholds for themselves. When they build in houses in the marginals and put in their supporters there to increase their numbers. And you figure, well, it's only 5 years. Really? And then you see 2030 come around and they plant all of their supporters in Grandy and in Moruga Tableland and San Fernando West and St. Joseph. Yeah? They put all the supporters there and increase their numbers, and their supporters quick now to go and change their registration to these constituencies to make sure they have the numbers. And you telling yourself it's only 5 years. You stop there and feel so. These people are very devious, eh? And look at the hearing as where they getting the support from. All right? Who they paying? We're hearing all kind of big names from the US running the campaign. But they're the same people who tell them about do so and all of that nonsense. Go ahead. Go ahead. When you see 10 years, 5 years turn into 10, and you end up with Prime Minister Munilal or Prime Minister Padarat, don't complain. You vote for that. Hush your mouth. 7701763. Easter blessings to all of you guys as well. Yes, Melka. Selfish. Only thinking about themselves. Only thinking about themselves. And not the benefit of the country as a whole. And when it is they get to the point where they can't, there's no revenue to continue to support. Because Pasad Bisasa said it. Let me just play this last thing here. Let's see here. Who don't hear us feel as they say? Put this on here. Where is it? Where is it? I don't know what's going on with this thing this morning.
Divestment plan for the state enterprise.
First 90 days.
We will prepare a divestment plan for the state enterprises and a debt workout strategy for those enterprises. The first 90 days. 1. We will prepare a divestment plan for the state enterprises and a debt workout strategy for those enterprises. Further, We will transform the remaining state enterprises to publicly owned companies. The government should be in business. Let the private sector and the businessmen do the business in Trinidad and Tobago. The first 90 days, 1. We will prepare a divestment plan for the state enterprises and a debt workout strategy for those enterprises.
First 90 days. Divestment plan for state enterprises. You hear that, right? Government not supposed to be in business. Leave business to the businessmen. Let them do that. Government not supposed to be in business. So NLCB that generating over $1 billion a year in revenue. Government not supposed to be involved in that. Put that in private hands. WhatsApp, T&Tech, TSTT, put all of that into private hands. Government not supposed to be in business. For Citizens Bank, government not supposed to be in business. You heard her say it. The investment plan for all of these entities, I have been reading that for you all for the longest while, page 48 and 49 of the National Economic Transformation Plan. I see now, I don't know who created this and who got that clip, but you heard it. You heard her say it for herself. Not me. She said it. All right? And we know what that means. Put it into private hands, and the first thing you do is restructure. So whereas the state may be benevolent and decide, well, we will hire people, even though we don't need all the staff, we will still hire them just to create employment. Private sector is saying that, you know. How much people we need to do this work? And then you want to talk about AI and all of that, more joblessness. Plenty of you who working in these state enterprises on contract, when you see a contract come to an end prematurely, and they tell you, well, that 3-year contract was with the government, you know, but now we take over this business, so that contract no longer applies, and we don't need you. Go home. Who they coming by? They coming by the MP. Well, I was working on a 3-year contract, but since the government sold that business, I ain't working nowhere and I'm looking for work. What you want me to do? I can't do nothing. If I ain't not in government, I can't help you. I could beg. If that's what it takes for me to help my constituents, and you all make a beg out of me, what do I have to beg? Because I put myself there. Right? But if you all want me to be going like what's his name? I forget. Name slips me at the moment. Right? Please, sir, can I have some more? Please, ma'am, can I have some more? I could get one person being when I beg for nothing is rural money. I tell him, hear that. Forget that. So if he's Minister of Housing, sorry, I ain't not begging him for nothing. Okay? That's one man. Just tell him earlier. Understand what is at stake. Jenny.
Good afternoon, Dominic. Happy Easter to you and all those who are locked on and tune in to Facts Plus Surroundings.
Hi.
We have a couple of days again away from election April 28th. And that election will be a historical one. I'll tell you why, because I firmly believe that the young people will have a say in this election. So I want to talk to the young people. I hope they are listening, and those who have your ones at home after you all could share, because it's important you all keep sharing the lives, whether it's public lives, whether it's so meeting lives that will inform and give you the information that you need. Or the young persons who are saying the 30 years old, when the 30 years old, may not know what the IMF did in this country under Kenya. And there was a coalition again of parties come together. So, all three People's National Movement, they got 33. And they went to the IMF. That period of time, in Kenya, that's 5 years, public officers lost their jobs. Public officers had to give back in the keys to houses and at Santa Rosa because they could not pay for these houses. Plenty families were broken up, mothers, fathers, customers, to the state, to the schools. We had children who were supervised by grandparents who sometimes alien and wasn't able to do the right way. We had the barrel training. We had all those things happening. We couldn't get a job in this country. Things were really, really hard. So that's why the 30s and 40s may not have understood and known that, because they would have been children back then. Then we come to 20, 15. So the 20-year-old, 25-year-old, they would have been aware of what's happening in the economy at the time of coming to that. But the one thing that they were taught that stick with them, and they tell us, as I saw everything, they see this life force that came, that could have done so much good for young people. All I told them to do is to they hand out and beg and say, me are walking, I could get something here, me have to do nothing. If them program when they talking about gas price and you not trade and so me going through that. I could just go somewhere, sign and thing and get some money, get some people and I good for the day. Come up with a discussion between 2010 and 2015, create a restitution for young persons where they feel, especially African youth, that you don't have to work hard for anything. Because whoever riches this country have it so only and all you don't have to do nothing to get it. All you go get is $69 auction and all that kind of thing, right? And by 2015, because of the wild spending and mismanagement and because oil prices had fallen so much, we were in a recession. But again, the young people didn't understand what I mean because he was running good still because Prime Minister Dr. Oli came in the PNM and as usual, the PNM just come to the rescue and try to stabilize the UNC offered 14%. I don't remember. Oh God, the highest percentage ever paid to public officers is the UNC did. But you know what, the UNC settled 14%, but never paid it. The settled since about in May of 2016. But they didn't pay it, you know why? Because they know the country has no money. Because while a rubber and later in the year comes to tell the incoming government, we're in a recession, 4 consecutive period of growth or whatever it is, we're in a recession. But when the government came in, this government said to me again, all right, you know, this government borrowed money, we'll go to the IMF, borrow money and pay 14%. Try to stabilize the economy, and then bam, we get hit with COVID-19. But again, things wasn't as tough and bad as outside and foreign in England and America and India and those places because China and they don't have pain and they was able to keep things tight, keep it steady. Yes, things were a little tough, but it was not how it was because people on the outside was fighting to come back home to Trinidad, and we were on the world stage where the World Health Organization would have praised Dr. Chief Christopher Roy and the PNM medical professionals, everybody. So the way they handled the COVID-19 in a time when nobody knew exactly what this disease was, there was no medication, there was no vaccine, nothing. And we simply used the Public Health Ordinance Act, and that is how the PNM state, which are the medical professionals, the emergency services. I'm painting a picture to these young people to let them know. Stop saying that you don't have a voice. Because if you don't get involved in the process, and the process is important, because when you vote, you have a voice. You can form a group, you can form a pressure group, a lobby group, and have a say. So that into government policy, so that all you do. So when only one wants to vote, nobody not saying all you so they can complain and don't listen to what young people say. How they going to listen to all you falling as a part of the process? Staying outside and caution the government that is not letting their voices be heard. It's getting involved in a productive way. It's what will get their voices be heard. So I urge you on April 28th, realize this is for all your people, I know. It's not for we who is 60 years old and 70 years old and thing, you know. It's for all the 30s and 40s, all of the 15-year-old, the 18-year-old. This is for all of this new chapter that Prime Minister Sturgeon speaking about. It's for all here. So if all them take up all the rightful place and be a part of the process so that next 5 years, the 15-year-old, the 20 years old, things will be in place. The 25-year-old will be 30-year-old, the 10-year-old will be 15-year-old. If all them do that, all they can't complain when they say have nothing. Because the world is changing, geopolitics has made this thing so much different. And you have to have somebody who can negotiate on your behalf. Because diplomacy is everything. Having the skills and the knowledge to negotiate is everything. The whole world, especially the energy sector, they know Stuart Young. They know him by his first name. That is not a joke, that is serious thing because of his work ethic, because he has the ability, he has the capacity, and he knows what he's about. Do you think anybody going to listen to Kamala Prasad, Barry Paradat, David Lee? And these nobody don't know them. And on top of that, the customer grow. Which part the gas is nothing to us. No matter what America do, you're still not include no during the conversation once he's the president. So you think anybody going to listen to them? Everybody running from the UNC. Everybody running, everybody else, any worth is running from the UNC. Why people want to run in? This code yellows means IMF. International Monetary Fund. That is what it means, because Kamala cannot tell us up to now how she's going to get the money, to finance all these goodies she wants to give. All she's going to go find it from where? On the other side, the PNM side is telling exactly how they intend to do things. A lot of programs are there for the young people, who into music, who into dance, culture, carnival. Then for the younger ones, the smaller ones. So everybody is comprehensive, it is feasible, it is realistic, it's in a pie in the sky. You always say, oh, there's too much old people running things in politics. But the PNM has shown us a group of young people, competent people. We have Hans from Go Martin, we have Curry Master, we have Brad Madden, we have you, Dominic, we have Ayana Westerlo, we have Shampa Kojo Lois. We have so much young people, Senator Lumuka. Then we have a mixed theory, more mature, now we have Camille Robinson, Regis. We have them there, we have come and do it. So what again you want? There's no excuse for nobody who's sitting on no fence, no excuse for nobody who's a young person to tell me on April 29th, when you think go south, that we ain't involved in this now. And every policy that the PNM government put in place, all the young people enjoying it to this day. So don't tell me that if you vote and vote, it will make a difference. Yes, it makes a difference. Because when they vote to the People's National Movement, they put government policies in place that to this day, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your auntie, your mommy, up to you, and your children enjoying it. Government policy. So don't tell me it don't make a difference. Yes, it makes a difference. People don't want to see this country going to the new age, new chapter, a new time and a new beginning with a young prime minister who can walk the walk, talk the talk, who has the energy and the stamina. He ain't perfect because he ain't Superman, he ain't no mechanic, he ain't no machine. He's an ordinary man who's dedicated to serving this country, about party, who is interested in the young people, because he's a young man himself, so he can straddle the both limbs, the old, the not so old, and the young. A man who is committed to fighting for Trinidad and Tobago and citizens. It's only one that to continue. Or they have no choice but to come out on April the 28th. And it is the first time you're voting of any life. Come out, let your voice be heard and be registered, be counted. Young people stand up and be counted in 2025. Otherwise, all you will have lost the right to tell elderly people that all the voice are being heard, because all they don't want it to be heard. Crowds don't win no election. You have to go out and vote. Polls ain't winning no election. You have to go out and vote. So I'm urgent in all these 41 constituencies, have your machinery, CNN, and make sure you vote and you pull everybody out to vote is on. So on April the 28th and the night of that, they'll be able to stand up and say proudly that a party with a prime minister who deserves to be there to work for us is in place, and that's the People's National Movement. Thank you, Dominic, and I'm blessed to everyone.
Thank you, Jenny. Well, I know the solid PNM people are doing what they have to do, right? In my constituency, they're not even entertaining UNC. When they hear outside, when UNC win, they even pulling the curtain. They're not interested, right? And a few of them come outside with a flag, they make sure, I hear, they plant the red flag on the wall. This is a PNM house, keep moving. Not interested? Don't leave nothing in my mailbox. Keep walking. All right? Keep walking. All right? So, if you are them who want to buy into the nonsense about the pension and the government go take your pension and all that, miss me with that rubbish. Nothing of the sort. I get this here. Eric.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Did you answer the question buying again, Drew?
You what?
All right. Oh, all right. Right. Good afternoon, Dominic.
Yes,
I was
sir.
wondering now because I'm calling 770 number.
Oh,
And I'm getting through.
I don't know what's going on with that. I didn't get that checked.
All right. Let me take an afternoon to all the listeners, callers, the viewers, and the PNM family. We ready, and responsible. Dominic, this is the final leg of the deciding factor of this country called Trinidad and Tobago. It's either we want progression on the 29th going forward, or we want government who was there 10 times 10 with corruption, nepotism, divisions, and you name it. People, the time has come. Crowds don't win election. Crowds do not win election. We have to get up on the 28th, which is next week Monday. You, your family, your friends, your neighbor, if you drop them in your car, whatever, get up, say your prayers, brush your mouth, go out, cast your ballot to the People's National Movement candidate. After that, you can go back home and have a family breakfast and knowing to yourself and your family and friends that you would have done your civic duty. So people, do not fall for all the rhetoric and the bacchanal and the gimme and the handout and the yellow is the gold. I know yellow is jaundice, piss, and pus. I don't know about yellow again. And who by me? I have nothing in yellow. Maybe not yellow on the way, to tell you. So people, let's continue the fight. Let's continue the battle. It is not over until 12 a.m. on Tuesday, the 29th of April. So we have written now, and on that set time, we have to continue pushing the information. Forget about UNC, forget about all what they're trying, whatever they're trying, because I got to understand, Dominic, they have some links in somebody in Jamaica, they try to infiltrate and influence the minds of the people in the country too. Somebody with some technology in Jamaica, as far as Jamaica, can't be bust the mark. Right? And as I rightfully said, they have people in the US trying to assist them down here. People like Johnny Walker and all of them outside there trying to assist them down here. The same Johnny Walker who have multiple fake profiles on Facebook. We know them. You understand? We know them. Right? So people, let's stay focused because all them polls that they're doing there, because we know Hamid Ghani and all of these so-called political analysts is anti-PNM. So we will expect those kind of things. Because you can't tell me, after what Kamala did in 2015, what they did in the position for the last 9 years, right? They support nothing of the sort. No bills, no legislation, nothing. And when COVID hit in 2020, 2021, you will watch your prime minister and call him a COVID vagrant. You will call the prime minister a COVID vagrant because he chose to safeguard the people of our country. And then I must go and stay in my hand for you. You can blast and walk balance to the prime minister. Kamala's aim is to get into office and put either Falarat or Munilal as the prime minister of this country. And we in this country should not sit down and decide and we want these kind of people to run our affairs in this country. Munilal cannot even put in his defense for the AMD cannot since last year November. Since last year November up to now, the media has put out nothing with regard to that update with Munilal matter. You know why? Election time comes, so they're hoping to win. That when they get in there and things is it, they're going to pardon all of those MPs who have charges over the name. Kamala looking to make here a state that will be governed by criminals. And we have to put a stop to that. The criminals in this country is a handful of people. They can put the whole country under siege. And if the UNC continuously to infiltrate and influence the minds of these criminals to run the affairs in this country, look at Sokoto Grande. It's alleged that the UNC MP up there, right, is allegedly ruling criminals, paying criminals to walk with him and try to intimidate people in Sokoto Grande. Gary said it in the media what day it was. A criminal lawyer who would have championed the cause, who would have defended these so-called criminals in matters. If you say that people that he wants to have around him to walk because they're hoping that when they get through, he will be able to give them something. But at the end of the day, they say Northeastern College, Northeastern Settlement, and KPLS, all these areas are prone to be squatters. I'm asking you, you know why you're working, Dominic? All these areas is squatting areas, and once you have squatting areas, it tends to attract certain elements within the area. So we know. So my advice to people in this country, election day is Monday the 28th of April. That is a mere 7 days and 10 hours until the first polling station, until the polling station open. People, as Dominic said, we have to go out there and do what we have to do. Don't see that Dominic win his seat and the other MPs bring his seat and the opposition that they cannot champion the cause for us. All they could do is beg. And I know Dominic is not a person to be begging people for nothing. So people, I don't want my MP Marvin Gonzalez to be begging the university for anything. I don't want Camille Rosie Vegis to be begging for something for the constituency. I don't want Monroe to be begging. I don't want Fotogramis to be begging. People, these are the candidates that the PNM have put out for us to go and vote resoundingly for. Let us bring up at least 26 to 27 seats comfortably so we can make amendments and pass laws to the betterment of the country and of the population on the whole. Government, whoever, it has some people on the live day, they say the word Jersey, they say they're trying to call in, but they ain't get you to the 770 number. Should I give them this number to call in?
No, just call on WhatsApp.
Right, I'll tell you on WhatsApp because they're trying to get you like Dandy, Sandy Ford, and Farmy Grand, and they're on the line, they're calling for Jersey. They're cutting for Jersey right now. They say, Dominic, and saying, we. I say, nah, I say, what I say, all the thing. So I'll call on WhatsApp, right? So Dandy and Farmy and only on the live chat on Facebook, only could call in on WhatsApp, the 770 number, and Dominic will be able to access all you, right? Farmy, if you want your Jersey, let me know. We'll be in the dial and I'll be your Jersey, right? But people, let's stay focused. We just have 7 days to go again, and let it continue flooding the social media with the proper information. Let us get the information, the young people, let us get them in tune. Because what they're trying to do now, Dominic, I have to understand. I would come to me, you know how that's how much is. The UNC trying now because they realize how the social contenders get exposed now, right? One of the try because you know people in studying they know the whole thing and we do the contest now. What they're trying now, they're trying to pay people, it's alleged, pay people large sums of money for them to stay home in their house, especially the young blacks. Pay them at 10,000, pay them at 20,000, so they could stay home and they wouldn't come out and cast their ballot for the PNM. So that's a new trend now they're trying to work on the Eastern Corridor with. But you know, that too shall see.
Yep.
So you see, everything what they're trying to do now is about money. The money bound to done. What happened after the money done? So young people do not fall for $10,000. Your integrity is worth more than $10,000. Your credibility is worth more than $20,000. Take the money and still go out and vote for the People's National Movement. Show them that here what they can't buy me. Stand up for what other want, and don't let the UNC fighters tell all you that what them want to give all you. Right? So people, because corridor youth, get out and go and support your candidates in the PNM constituencies. With that being said and done, Dominic, good congratulations. Election day is 7 days away. People, let's stay focused. You're listening.
Thank you, sir. I see that one new one on the YouTube. By the name of Bisram Sukhdeo saying 6 seats for the PNM. I don't know where he living. Talk about delusional. Really? Well, I can't fool PNM people, my friends. He's probably one of them enjoying the 3 increases that the government give him in personal allowance. How many increases Kamala gave you, Bisram? Zero. She came in and met personal allowance, 60,000. She left it at that. The PNM increased it from 60 to 70, 72 to 60 to 72, 72 to 84, and then to 90. You're paying less income tax. You mustn't be ungrateful, Mr. Ram. Come on, man. Behave yourself. Stop being ungrateful. The PNM built 5 hospitals. How many Kamla built? 1. Pande built 0. You want me to? If we had to choose, come on, let me talk sense here. Pande built none. Kamla built 1. Rowley built 5. But you're telling me vote for the UNC? Really? Last I checked, 5 is more than 1. Behave yourself, now, man. Keith Rowley bought 3 brand new ferries for the Tobago Sea Bridge. Kamla bought none. Pande bought none. You want to tell me vote for the UNC? So I should vote for the party that didn't buy any ferries as opposed to the party that bought ferries? Really? Keith Rowley reduced VAT from 15% to 12.5%. The first and only increase that we got since VAT came into being under the NAR. From 15 to 12.5%. The last time you went and pay your phone bill, you went and pay your light bill, you went and pay your water bill, you're paying less VAT for the last how many years, as opposed to how much you were paying under Prasad Bisasa. Come now, man. You're talking about the PNM increase rates here. All let us lie. PNM never increased no electricity rates. Behave all yourself. You bought a car recently? Do the maths. 12.5% VAT versus 15% VAT. So they come now, man. The average price of a car, if you buy a car for 300,000, do the maths and see how much that 2.5% works out to. This Keith Rowley administration increased the minimum stamp duty threshold for first-time homeowners from 850 under Kamla to 2 million. Kamla took it from 450 to 850. She increased it by 400,000. Rowley increased it by 1.15 million. So if your daughter or your son, if you have a daughter or son and they're going to buy a house for the first time, they're saving tens of thousands of dollars in closing costs that they would have to pay in stamp duty. Kamla didn't do that for you. Does Keith Rowley do that for you? You're ungrateful. Stop your nonsense. Keith Rowley took VAT off of cell phones, tablets, computers, laptops. Kamla didn't do that. You had to pay full 15% VAT, and you know these phones are cheap. So you're paying less money, less VAT. Thanks to Keith Rowley, not Kamla. Stop being ungrateful now, man. What are you doing? Malabar has a swimming pool thanks to Keith Rowley. Kamla gave us no swimming pool, and Anil Roberts was the minister of sport. Where is the swimming pool? He come and dig up the grounds in Karapo, so he go in and do it over nothing. We went through Karapo yesterday, and people saying, "Oh God, Mr. Romain, fix that ground." So we know the youth in the area, they need a facility. If we could put a little pavilion and just fix the ground so that we could use the space there since that man come. But it didn't have the money. So these are things that I would be looking into. Stop being ungrateful. Maloney get a swimming pool. Lavantil get a swimming pool. Mova get a swimming pool. Sod turn for another swimming pool in La Joqueta. Come on, they're going to build another secondary school in La Joqueta. Leon, stop being ungrateful. Come now, man. You're talking about when Kamla bring laptop here and take it away. You mustn't lie. Let me read it for you again. All you're clueless. That's all the problem is, you know. All you're voting based on ignorance. So let me read this for you. Brian, give me 1 second. Let me read this for Bisram here, because clearly he don't know what he's talking about. He does only focus on kick out the PNM. That's not. Let me get this here for you, Bisram. Let me see. Where is it? Oh gosh. Let me get this here. Yes, no. Let me help him out here. Always have this thing at my fingertip. You know. The Ministry of Education would have given out over 78,000 laptops between 2023 to now. All right? So let me assist you. Yes, no. Right. Ministry of Education, September the 5th, 2023. Dear editor, head of department, 71,000 laptops and tablets distributed to teachers and students from 2020 to 2023. Over the last 3 years, the Ministry of Education has distributed a total of 71,000 laptops and tablets to students and teachers throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Today, Tuesday, the 5th of September, 2023, distribution of a further 8,000 laptops to principals for both students and teachers in their respective schools commenced. The distribution process continues until Monday, 18 September 2023, during which time principals of over 500 primary and secondary schools are scheduled to collect devices. Dr. The Honorable Nian Gatsby-Dolly, speaking on the distribution, said, in today's learning environment, a digital device is a necessary tool to support academic success. Digital access is a critical thread in the fabric of Trinidad and Tobago's educational transformation. Parents are reminded that devices are distributed on the basis of passing a means test, which remains accessible on the Ministry of Education's website. The ministry continues to process requests from parents on an ongoing basis and will provide devices to eligible students based on available supplies. 79,000 laptops since 2023, and they continue to give. Well, stop lying now, man. Stop lying. Laptops being given out. Kamla gave out 95 in 5 years. The PNM gave out 80,000 in 3 years. Come on, behave yourself. 80,000 in 3 years. And it's of a better quality. And they continue to give. You know what the issue they had with Kamla's own? She just gave everybody. All they always talking about the 1% and the 1%. Well, the 1% children and all get a laptop from Kamla and they didn't need it. They didn't need it, so they probably went to and give it to the maid and say, here, we'll give your children that. We don't need that because we have iMac, iPad, MacBook. They may need that cutlery thing that Kamla was given. Behave all yourself. Stop being ungrateful now, man. Under Kamla Prasad Bisesa, the income ceiling for pension was $4,500, which means that if you were receiving a pension of $3,000 from NIS, you could only get $1,500. This government increased the ceiling to $5,500. So if you get $3,000 from NIS, you could get $2,500 from the government additional. That's an additional $1,000. But all over the place talking about, oh, they ain't getting the pensioners no increase. Stop lying. Stop it. How many houses the UNC built between 2010 to 2015, Bisram? How many? You can't tell me because they don't talk about that. They're talking about they built 106 schools. Where? Anthony Roberts rubbish. Anthony Garcia rubbish that in the parliament. They built 51 schools and trying to take credit for the rest that the PNM started. When they came in 2010, the Manning administration had started that and they finished it. Come now, man, ease me up with the lies. Tell me why I should vote for them. You'd have no minister under this administration accused of forcing a woman to perform oral sex on him for no HDC house. That was under Kamla Prasad Bisesa. No minister accused of trying to bribe an ex-minister and all kind of thing and end up getting case. How many of them are accused of being bag of money ministers? You notice something? In this whole campaign, you hear the UNC accusing this government about corruption. Eh? The only talk is about crime and the government incompetent and they don't know what they're doing and Forex. But you hear them talking about corruption? You hear them accusing any of these ministers of being bag of money ministers and so on? No. Same thing in 2020. The talk wasn't corruption, it was incompetence and the incompetent. But in 2015, all we were hearing is corruption. Constant day and night is corruption. So give us a break. You happy that they paid Larry Hawaii 11.625 million? You happy with that? You okay with that? But who really making the rich richer? All of the leases that the UNC gave to the 1% in Shagaramas, the man who got 35 acres of land for $3,800 a month, the man who got 4 acres of land to build a car park for $1 a year for 30 years, and then to lease the car park to the CDA for $900,000 a month. You okay with that? That is what you want to vote for? You telling me to vote for that? You can't be serious. And then when the population marched from Shagaramas to the waterfront, somebody pulled the blind and say, I ain't seeing no Indian in that crowd. So that's just a PNM crowd. That's the kind of talk they're talking. And we should vote for that? You cannot be serious. What is Kamla Prasad Bisesa's plan for the energy sector? They're talking about in-border oil and in-border gas. All of the incentives that they offer the energy companies, 2027 is when they were supposed to resume paying taxes and so on that money. In 2025, they still have a 2-year moratorium. It was Keith Rowley that went and we negotiated with them and got them to give us $1 billion. They admitted, they said, look, we don't have to, but we hear what you're saying. And you know what Mr. Rowley said to them? You have your shareholders and I have mine. And my shareholders are the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Kamla didn't make that representation for us. She didn't. So while she declaring Dragon dead and David Lee declaring Dragon dead, it is this Chinese, the PNM Chinese, the one who talking about Dragon are dead. Hence the reason Mr. Rubio didn't pick up the phone and call Kamla. He didn't pick up the phone and call Munilal or David Lee or Kevin Ramnaran. He called Stuart Young. Because Chiochong on a first name basis with all these heads of these international energy companies, Kamla can't do that. You ever hear Kevin Ramnarayan boast about that? That is why we would have nothing to do with race. Because Chiochong is half East Indian and half Chinese. We don't care. The same PNM people who, while you're talking about only voting race is the same ones who voted for Kamla in 2010 and made her prime minister when the People's Partnership got almost 450,000 votes. Do you feel how much PNM people I bounce up in my constituency who tell me, boy, I vote for them in 2010, but never again, you know. Never again, you know. They admitted they voted for the People's Partnership and they didn't care. They didn't see that Kamla was East Indian. They said the worst thing we could have done was to vote for Anil Roberts in this constituency. 76 murders in 4 years. And you're still feeling the effects of that today. Come now, man, Bistran, better than that. Brian. Greetings. Let me just give me 1 second. Let me just do this here. Go ahead.
I know you have a lot more to say.
Plenty. But you go ahead. You say your piece.
A week before the elections, you can't convert those who do not wish to be converted because they are hell-bent and set in their way.
Yes.
Some of them refuse to accept that they would lose.
Yeah.
Or even though they know they will lose. You understand? Look, just while you were speaking, the patriotic front passed in front by me here. One car, one reported, this is the patriotic front passing in your area. I'm looking for the rest of the people. Nobody walking, no other vehicles, nothing. I haven't even seen the UNC. This is how they want to rule. This is what they want to do. So they believe by putting things in the papers, putting things on social media is good enough for them to win with all of their lies. That's what they believe. They're not walking. They're not coming to look for you really. Not all of them. They believe that they have already won. Hamid Ghani and his stupidness, he believes the same thing too. Because he has big parts and something to gain. But you see, the other day, the newly minted Minister of Finance said what I have been saying all along. That Kamla Prasad has already admitted that she is not going to manage to float. She's going to allow our dollar to float. And we have been warned by the Honorable Prime Minister that it could go as much as 15 to 1. But people have to ask themselves, what does that mean to you or to me? Well, let me explain. This is a new week. Last week I called a travel agent. And I asked some questions to that particular travel agency. I said, if I wanted a ticket to go to Barbados during the August holidays, how much would I have to pay? She says, right now, I said, how long are you going for? I said, a week. She said, it will cost me $3,370 to go for 1 week. I said, $3,370. I said, I'm not going to go next week. Out of the holiday season. She said, it will cost you $100 less. I want you all to picture that the UNC is in office and our money is devalued. All of you who normally would travel to Barbados during the August holidays with your family. Think about what it will be costing you all now. Then, if we have to travel to Barbados, it will be out of the reach of many of us. In other words, those of us who would normally take a trip up the Caribbean island or two, it will be out of our reach. St. Vincent, over $3,000. Grenada, St. Lucia, Jamaica, she told me it's over $5,000 to go to Jamaica right now. So picture how much money it will cost you. Let's say you want to carry your family of 5 to go on a holiday to one of these Caribbean. I ain't talking about Canada, I ain't talking about America, I'm not talking about England and Europe yet. I'm talking about Caribbean countries, CARICOM. Even this costing us this amount of money at this time, for us to travel to go to one of our island, our neighboring island. How much you feel that price will go up at 15 to 1? In other words, it will be out of our reach. Because after you're done paying for the 5 hours to go, which could be anything about $7,000 per person. So 7 5s are what? $35,000 in airfare. And we ain't start to talk about spending money yet. Let's assume everybody gets $300 US. That's $4,500. That's $1,000. That's $15,000 for $1,000 US to go anywhere in the Caribbean. That is the kind of money you have to put out to travel just simply in and around CARICOM. Have you all studied these things? You know what's going to happen to Cal? Cal will sink because Cal, nobody will be able to really travel. Not the poor man, the average man will not be able to travel around the Caribbean. Let's talk about America. To go to America, when I traveled last year, I traveled economy, $7,000. You could imagine to go to America now, if you had to pay at 15 to 1. At 15 to 1. Finance Minister Dan Paul spoke about this just recently, just last week, how much it would cost. I told you I have a friend whose daughter is studying medicine in Jamaica. And when we spoke just this week about what Minister Dan Paul said, you know what she revealed to me? She said, Brian, I'm not only paying for the fees, for the academic fees, you know. She also is a boarder. She's staying at a dormitory. I said, how much do you pay for that? She said, I pay right now I'm paying $500 US a month. Because America wants their money in US dollars. She said, but if it goes up 15 to 1, you gotta come home. She said, what are we to do? I said, I will let your daughter try to vote before she goes back. So they are tempted to get information from the EBC to be an early voter. But what happened was that the daughter had to go back and she could not vote because those documents were only coming out, I think, this week. Or last weekend, I think it was. But the daughter left already, so she could not vote. But she left here with a concern on her mind that if this government should lose the election, what would happen to her in Jamaica? So she's paying close attention to the results. And this is for a lot of you parents who have children studying at university in the Caribbean and outside of the Caribbean. What it is going to cost you all after the 28th of April 2025. Have you all thought about that? If you want to take a little trip to anywhere to carry your better half or your kids, how much is it going to cost you? Will you be able to travel? Will you ever see Barbados again? Will you ever see St. Lucia again? Will you ever see? You may, but maybe it's like become once in a lifetime dreams. It is already now we have to get visa to go to England. And I was also told that in order to get that visa, you have to pay in US dollars. They're not accepting TT. So you have to pay US dollars for this new English visa to go to England. And on top of that, how much money you will have to pay? You have to pay now to go to England. Are you all ready for that? Cal will shut down because Cal will have realized they have no more clients. Or the clients have been reduced. Kamala Prasad Bissessa wants to make the rich richer and the poor very poor. And these are some of the things you have to ask yourself. What will happen to me and my children next week if this election should go the wrong way? Because she has already admitted she is not going to manage the float. So it is inevitable that instead of paying 6.8 to 1, it may very go between 12 and 15 to 1. What are you going to do? Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself how much you will have to pay more for food. and tell you where it coming from, how to pay the back pay, and when it coming. Kamala Prasad has not said when she's going to pay. Yes, they will give 10%, but when? 2030, just before the election, they will sign off on it for another government have to come and pay all over again like in 2015. Is that what's going to happen? Is that what you're waiting on? They are fooling the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Your well-being, your ability to travel abroad, to carry your children to see a different place, even to go to Tobago, is at risk. It is at risk. Are you going to take that risk with the UNC? Purchasing food for your children to be nourished and eat. For you yourself to eat, to be able to go to work on those hard, strenuous days to perform to ensure you get that income. You're going to take that chance? Is that what you're going to do? Finance Minister Dan Paul explained it well when he said, listen, if they win, everything goes up at least twice minimum, 100%, and it could be more, knowing how our groceries, the owners of our groceries move. So what's going to happen to car prices? You won't be able to purchase a car anymore. Those things will be things of the past. Kamala, they have no plan. They never did and they never will, except to help themselves. You know why they're doing that? Because they have money outside. And the thing that their money, their US dollars that they have hidden away, will better themselves and their families and their friends. That is what they are going to do to us in 1 week time. If we take God out of our thoughts and don't do the right thing for our children who are studying abroad, our babies who are here, $500 ain't going to even buy a tin of milk for your baby. Not even a tin of milk. It's all pie in the sky. So to believe Kamala Prasad, I want to know if Kamala Prasad is going to walk up the steps of the Capitol in Washington to talk to anybody in those offices to discuss oil and gas. Who's she going to walk up them steps to talk to them 50 steps? You can't walk up 2 good little 2-inch steps. You go walk up 50 steps. Or she going to stay in Trinidad and send Kevin Ramnarine and David Lee, who knows absolutely nothing about oil and gas. As a leader, is that how she's going to lead? Is that how she plans to lead? To send other people to do her work while she sit down in the big palace? Smoking plant-like substances and drinking out of the bed that we gonna have to pay for. Remember when her sister was traveling with her all over the world, how much money Dominic told her she was getting to spend $338,000 in Australia for 18 days, $212,000 in India, for 2 days in Washington, $11,000. They love New York. They love to travel all over the place. How much more money do you think she will get now? You think she's done travel? If we think we're going to be paid for it, it's going to be us, we the people. We have to pay for all of these things come beginning next week because they're not going to waste time. They already know exactly what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And they will want us, as was said before, to come and beg them because they know how they see us. They know how they look at us. You know what will be the most, Dominic, and has me so concerned? Kareem Marcel said something last week. And it ricocheted to me. I mean, really, really disturbing. Kareem Marcel said that the partnership with Kamala Prasad, we set up called the state of emergency in 2011. He said when he looked outside, he saw buses, police buses lined up waiting outside Beefam, outside Picton, outside time and he was afraid. That he saw all of these buses just waiting to collect 8,000 people that look like me, Dominic. Picked up 8,000 from anywhere they could have gotten people. They didn't care whether they had a job or whatever. Once they was on the street, they pick you up. And Kareem Marcel said that's certain. So all these buses lined up just waiting on instructions to pick up anybody and everybody, Dominic, in East-West corridor, Dominic. But guess what occurred to me at that time when he said that, Dominic? I didn't see any buses in San Fernando, Dominic, lined up. I didn't see any buses. I didn't hear about any buses in Charlieville. I didn't hear about any police buses lined up in Chaguanas, Dominic. I didn't hear about any buses lined up in Pinal, in Oropuch, in Tebe. So is there only crime, Dominic, along the East-West corridor, Dominic? Was there only crime in only in those places? And I have to ask myself, she says she care about me. Really? I don't think so. She didn't care about me in 2011. And the amount of things she had to say about the then Prime Minister, call him all the first name, Oreo and Black Man. And I look like he. You think she care about me, Dominic Romain, today? But all I vote for is a vote. So all you young youths who got an opportunity to your homestead programs and so on, go out and vote solidly for the People's National Movement because it will disappear in a fleeting moment after the 28th of April. Don't ensure that you vote for the PNM. Don't sit down at home and tell yourself everything will be okay and be done when already. We win when we vote and we need a majority vote. As Eric said, we need at least 26 or 27 seats. Go out and vote and do not let social media or anybody tell you different. If they offer you money, take it. And then go and vote solidly. When they go in that vote, it's you and the stamp alone. Nobody has to know. And you're God. Vote solidly for the PNM. Because if you don't, you will then see where body go. Dominic, have a good afternoon.
Thank you, sir. Let's see if I could possibly take so 1 second here. So 1 second. One second. Let me try this again. Let's see. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. 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 So I don't know what went on there. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
How are you going, Dominic?
I am good, man.
Well, Dominic, I just want to tell you congratulations again on your walkabout.
Thank you.
You're doing an excellent job interacting with the people.
Yes, I am.
And I'm probably sure that you're going to win your seat.
Thank you.
In contrast to that so-called doppelganger that the UNC offered. And I'm very surprised that you haven't interacted with that individual yet. Have you met that individual already?
Who is this?
The doppelganger.
Yes, I met him on 2 occasions actually. Our campaigns encountered on Reed Lane 2 days ago.
Oh, okay. Because I saw sometime with him, he was campaigning Caparo side now.
Okay.
And And he had a little help from the so-called candidate from St. Augustine.
Oh, okay. Well, that is her area. She lives.
Next after the next questionable thing on her head now.
Yeah, she lives in that area. So. Not
I see.
Yes.
But I was surprised that area is also within your area, in your territory as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of. Okay. Very interesting. Dominic, it is really sad that I have certain African people who are willing to go back and eat their own vomit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And particularly some of these so-called influencers with that sort of pocket change that they get for $40,000. I wonder if that could help them in the long term. You know?
Yes.
Did you watch a clip with Mr. Victor Roberts?
Which one?
Did you see any clips with that?
I've seen a few.
It's a 3 minutes video.
Which one is this? I've seen a few from him.
You know, I am not a big fan of Mr. Roberts, but if the man said that he committing the belly of the beast of the United National Congress, that should give an idea of you not to vote for that party. And like what I said, I'm like, where is the so-called woman that's going to get the money to pay 10 to 40% of people's salaries? Are they going to use the porn tax that they're proposing now?
Probably, because you know.
Where does porn tax come from?
But and they said no, they're not introducing any new taxes.
So tell me something. So when you want to watch your stuff online, you have to pay now.
Correct.
Something wrong. What is going on to this lady here?
She want to come in your bedroom.
Who proposed that?
Tell you what to watch. All those poor souls from Saparia, her constituency.
First you stand your ground laws, then floating the $30. And now you want to propose so what are you going to do now? Sit up and the truth. And people want to vote for that?
Apparently.
And to those people who were voting for the anchor and want to vote for blue, the color of the blue crab. I thought that the candidate for Tobago was bad. But me not the one for Tobago, it was worse. Did you hear the story about some bacchanal that took place between him and some situation now?
Yes, I am.
Provocation?
Yeah, I heard a recording between the person,
yes,
the PNM guy and Elizabeth Williams. Yeah.
Yes. Sting like a butterfly and bite like a bee. And people want to vote for that individual over Ayana Webstery. And the next one who fighting against Chantra Kudjo. To begin with, be very careful about your voting on. Or remember how they treated Iana Robinson. But I have some of you who like to be like this character from Django and Shane, Stephen.
Yes.
You know who Stephen is from Django? Black people already have a chance, you know. April 20th is very important. The next joker from San Luis make an outer time and Richard statement about chasing the Chinese out of jail, well, not out of jail, out of town. Dominic, I go on, you have a good day.
You too, sir. Thank you.
And like I said again, find that video with the song called Get Your Ass Off the Vote.
Yeah, I have it. Do it. I'll bring it.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. I see that the creative folks in my campaign have created a mad bull kite with my picture on it. Very nice. Very, very nice. Creative folks we have in Malabar, Mausica. So, Chris is here. We say you lost all exuberance to end the line. Chris, you come from. I'm tired. I have been walking my constituency, Papi, every single day. Sometimes I finish after 8 in the night. 2 days ago, I was in Andrew Lane, 8:15 in the night, meeting people, talking to them, pledging their votes, their support for me, Chris, seeing about the people's needs. All right? And at over the night, I taken information to forward to the relevant authorities so that they could bring relief to the people before the election. That's why they give my rest today. I've been going non-stop in the morning, from the morning 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, non-stop until all hours of the night. Sometimes people want to come home by them because I pass and they didn't see me. They want me to come by them 11 o'clock in the night to buy people's house because they get 5, 6 neighbors to come and how to come and sit down and meet with them. So I ain't getting rest. Okay, so if you find I'm not my usual exuberant self, it's because I need rest. I am campaigning. And I don't have the good fortune of your leader. You understand? Where she walk any constituency. Has she walked anywhere in her constituency? We know she can't. If she walked 10 feet, that's it. She out for the day. I even see her now, like she can't even stand up at the back of the truck. You know the panel van? And she accustomed doing standing up at the back of the panel van and waving like she's Princess Margaret. She can't even do that. Okay? So us in the PNM, we on the ground every single day. In fact, there was a portion of my campaign team who were not pleased that we're not working today, but I tell them, hey, what? After that youth rally yesterday, that youth motorcade from 9 o'clock in the morning, and they finished about 6 o'clock. And when I thought I was done, my counselor from Malabar Phase 1, she said, come, we need to go on the street here because some of the people who haven't seen you before and they want to see you. So I had to jump off, come out of the motorcade and go and walk Alamanda, Crescent or Avenue or whatever it is. And we had to stop at almost every house because this counselor, she don't play. Every house. So she calling out her people. She has a WhatsApp chat for every single street in her constituency. And she sent out a message. The candidate is in your area. Come out and meet him. And she just taken me from house to house to house to house. So I didn't finish until almost 8 o'clock last night. And as I said, when I finish here, jump in my car. I have about 3 different people to go and see in the constituency who didn't have the opportunity to see me. So I out there. I'm out there. All right? So relax now. Relax. And I don't drink alcohol and I don't smoke. Can't say the same for your leader. So you don't worry. We got over here. The PNM is in good hands. We are not fooled by the propaganda of the UNC. Kateli Malabar Musica is certainly not fooled. You might have 1 or 2 persons who had all that China, but for the most part, their vote not moving. They're ready, and responsible. And can't wait till the 28th early. And some of the senior citizens, they say, listen, I will be first in line, you know. I tell my son already, come and pick me up for 5:30. I must be first in line because I ain't standing up in no line long. Let me go in and do my civic duty, cast my ballot for Mr. Romain and come back in my house. And I said, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. When I bunks up, Mr. Smith on Reed Lane, when was that, boy? That was Friday. If you see, we were coming down the street and with his music truck and the crowd, yellow, I said a little teenagers looking like they're probably 14, 15 years old. They get them jersey to walk with him. Half of them don't even have ID card to vote. And then have a couple of them who I saw after they done walk with him. They ain't living too far from my campaign offices. They come, boss, don't mind you see me walking with them. They just because, you know, they tell me, they'll give me a little thing, but you know, you have a good show with me, eh? Don't worry, we ready and ready in this house here. Every mother only see me, but you know, we are to get a little thing. I say, Papi, you go ahead and do what you have to do. Once you know what you're doing on April 28th, you walk with them, take the money. Take the money. My team big. I have 50-something, 60-something people, so I don't need more. So you, if you're eating enough food there, Papi, take it, but know what to do on the 28th. And plenty of them. We went to Unityville in Samaru Village. I said to young boys in their UNC jersey, right? Walking with he. If you see them yesterday, they come in, Mr. Romain, when you come, we just want a little work, right? We just want a little work. Yeah, because we have nothing to do and thing. He said, don't mind we wear this jersey here just because you know, they give me a little thing to work with them, but we ain't voting, we're not supporting them. Okay. IBEX? No. They know what time it is. They know what time it is. So when you see them walking all over the place, so that's other people with them and they figure, look how much support they have. Support what? Where they had the support? Poor Mr. Smith, when I jump out the car and I go to greet him if you see his face, you could say, he like, why really doing here, boy? In this hot sun, and this already day, I walk this whole street and only one person come out to meet me. And the person is PNM. But it's just out of curiosity with all the foolishness. The next door neighbor, who is the chairman of my constituency, she told me, no, but I see that lady come out there and meet them. She had to right up there, you know. She's senile, but she just come outside. And they hand her flag and she waving the flag and don't have a clue what's going on. Going to talk to her afterwards and she just there like blank. The one person come on that whole street. Well, he better hasty retreat if you see how fast he was out there. And that has been the reception he has been getting everywhere that he goes. So the boy have up about 5 posters in the whole constituency, he have a plenty. Afterwards, when we pass by his campaign office on O'Meara Road, he stand up there, looking all forlorn. Chris, why don't come and walk with him, man? Walk with him, man, now, Chris. Help him out. Help him out. At least you'd have one person working with him who working because you're not getting paid. Poor soul. Even my next door neighbor, who was the UNC's candidate in the local government election 2023, she was the candidate for this district. She and my team. Right? Everywhere we go. You're voting for my neighbor? This who you're voting for? Yeah, nah, forget that. Forget yellow. We voting for him this time. He from the area. He's one of us. Voting for him. And guess what? I don't have to pay her 1 cent. Not 1 penny. So, folks, it is 2:32. I will take my leave now, but we will chat again on Tuesday morning. I have an interview, a Zoom interview on TV6 from 6:20. It's about 6:35, 6:40, and after that, I'll jump on. Right? So, I'll already be in for the laptop, so it's just to switch from one platform to the next. So we will chat on Tuesday morning, or if you could catch the interview on TV6, feel free so to do. Again, anybody celebrating birthdays today, happy birthday to you. Anniversaries or whatever. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Let me go and meet with my constituents, something that Kamala Prasad Visasa is not doing. All right, I actually go into the people's homes and meeting with them. I don't mind. I'm tired, but we're going now because some elderly people and they're happy, they're excited to see them. So, folks, we're supposed to get some more jerseys because jerseys going fast. Real fast. It's like as soon as it come, it's gone. So we're giving away 100, probably over 1,000 jerseys already. So we're supposed to be getting some any day now. So we'll organize that and we'll see how we can arrange for persons to get it. And if you live in my constituency, don't worry, even after the election, you will see me as well. Right? Istra, I saw your mom, Istra Blake. Yes, I don't know if she told you. Passed by her home. She said, I missed her, mommy. Okay, all right. So it was a pleasure meeting her as well. That's right, Brian. Do not vote for the carbon copy. The wannabe. The man who left the PNM because he went up. He screened for St. Anne's East against Nian Gatsby Dolly in 2020. The PNM rejected him. And so desperate is he to be a parliamentarian that he decided to leave the party and go and join the UNC. How does that work for him? They give him a little Kobo sweat as a acting, a temporary senator, but that's about it. But you could see, I could tell the man's body language when he saw me the other day. It's like, why I wasn't on that side, why I wasn't in the red instead of the yellow. You chose to leave. There's a call for young people to come forward. Sometimes you just need to bide your time. Hold the faith, right? Hold the line, and the opportunity will come. But he wasn't ready. He wasn't willing to do that. So he made the wrong choice, and it will tell on the 28th. So, yeah, folks, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Small pin, the carbon copy of roll. Oh gosh, Chris, really, Chris, really. All the things he has to, all your friends to achieve, I realize that. Because all you know, once to achieve PM, the next 5 years, the amount of delivery you're going to be getting with this team, that is it for you. That is it there for all you. Salt. Kerry Thomas says, my Ulstrom was last Wednesday. Belated birthday greetings to you, Kerry. Yes, Carol, don't vote name, vote by symbol. So that's what I keep telling people, especially the elderly constituents. They said, what's your name? Dominic. All right, I look for that. I said, no, don't look for Dominic. Look for the Balize because there are 2 Dominics and that's the plan. Right? So focus on the Balize. That, yeah. Forget name. You just focus on the symbol and we'll get it right. Kadeen Forrester says carbon copy don't stand a chance. It's only last night I realized who your opponent was. I listened to him in the Senate. Yeah. Empty. Vacuous. But when you're desperate. Rosalind Norris says, see why I say when I say yellow means disrespect. Correct. So have a great rest of the afternoon, folks. And we will chat again on Tuesday morning, usual time. All right. So take care.